This is Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio with Stuart Cameron.
Well, hello, welcome to Mansfield Park for this week's Borders Rugby Special. For the next 3.5 hours, we're going to bring you the latest score updates and live commentary from our feature match today between Hawick and Currie in the Premiership. The Greens, of course, are unbeaten in the league, while Currie, well, they're second place, only 4 points behind. Hawick, well, they haven't lost at home in the league since September 2019 when Glasgow Hawks won here, and they've kept the Bill McLaren Shield all season, and they want to keep it through to the end of the season as well. Well, the match is going to be kicking off at 2 o'clock, hence our early start today, which is, why we're on the air earlier than usual. We're going to hear from the coaches shortly, but I'm joined in the back of the stand, in fact, by Nikki Walker, the Hawick and Scotland winger. Of course, he'll be doing co-coms today, and first of all, it's Dale Clancy. A very good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, Stuart. It's a bitterly cold day here at Mansfield Park, but it's a great game to have here. The top two teams in Scottish rugby are going to lock horns, and it's going to have a big say in terms of who's going to potentially get a home semi and definitely have the advantage going for the home final as well. Yes,
two clubs at the very top going head to head. We'll certainly take that for afternoon's entertainment.
Oh, definitely. Currie got off to a little bit of a disjointed start this season, but Hawick have been the pace setters since mid-October. They've never let it up. They've been really consistent, and they'll be wanting to continue that here and really put down a marker in terms of building on that big performance that they had up at Millennium and put a little bit of daylight between them to save their squad for what will be an arduous campaign as they head towards the business end of the campaign.
So what's your gut feeling today?
Yeah, well, I think it's probably most likely going to be a Hawick win. Both squads are changed from the previous game at Millennium, but I feel that Hawick are a little bit more settled. If anything, they've actually welcomed back some players who have really improved their squad. Currie lost a lot of players in the backs, which are going to have an impact. It was quite a stark difference between the two teams earlier on this season. Last season, both games were a 5-point swing, so they're usually pretty tight. But Hawick are unbeaten, so it would be hard to bet against them.
Now, of course, earlier on we were promised very heavy rain. That hasn't happened. We've had a bit of a drizzle, but the pitch is looking reasonably okay. But what we're going to be getting at 2 o'clock is a very strong wind of about 40 miles an hour, and that's going to play into the hands of the kickers, people like Gregor Hunter, who's playing for Currie today.
Yeah, we watched the game last week between Melrose and Ayr, and it was a wind that was favouring the team going away from the town end. And Melrose didn't play it as effectively as Ayr, so these wins can sometimes be detrimental to the team that have got it at their back, but it's just how the playmakers manage it. The likes of Hector Patterson as well at scrum half, and Gregor Christie at scrum half for Currie, they're going to have to manage it as well, because it's not just up to the fly halves, it's up for the scrum halves to dictate where they want to be playing the game. So obviously that wind is going to have an effect. It is pretty slippy underfoot as well. There has been some heavy rain, but both these teams are at the top of Scottish club rugby for a reason. It's because they're skilled, they're dedicated, and they'll be hoping to keep errors to a minimum.
Well, Hawick are unbeaten, as we mentioned, but after the first couple of games, going way back to September when they had that draw here with Selkirk 2020, I think it was, and then they went to Embrackis and they were behind for most of the match and then just grabbed the wing at the end. And you would never have predicted that, fast forward to now, that they're still unbeaten.
You probably wouldn't have predicted it, but you can't argue against it. Their squad's got stronger with the likes of Ross Graham, Fraser Rennick coming back in. The second rows of Sudden and Redpath have made a huge difference. They'll feel the absence of Jay Linton today, but they do have the strongest squad in the league. The other teams are littered with really classy players, but they just don't have the depth that Hawick do, and that matters for nothing if you don't pick up the trophy at the end, and this is a huge game, so they'll be wanting to make sure that they put in the performance and they don't hit any bumps in the road with personnel too.
Absolutely. Well, more from you a little bit later on, but earlier on I caught up with both head coaches. You'll hear Mark Cairns, who's the Currie's boss, but first a chat with Greens head coach Matty Douglas. Well, Matty, this is probably the biggest game of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, Stuart, we're really looking forward to it today. I think last week's put us in a great position coming back to Mansfield. Obviously not played here since the good win against Accies, but look, this for us is a must win and a huge game for the club, and look, it's one, these players are starting to really, perform on the big occasions, and again today it has to happen.
Now, going back to the Millennium Park win that you had there, one of the best performances of the season, and from a Currie's perspective, probably one of their worst. Yeah,
look, I think Currie that day probably struggled first half a little bit, but look, we had the wind, we had the conditions, and then played into a strong win second half. And as always, Currie, you saw some of the results this season. They stay in games to 79 minutes to get the win. So look, they came back at us, but the big thing probably what changed for last season, that we were able to handle that and be put under pressure, and then, as you say, we're able to kick on and look, that's a memorable victory that stands out this season. And there's been a lot, every week we're saying we're putting in big performances, and as a club for Hawick to keep saying that week in, week out, that's where we need to be. So yeah.
And I guess on Tuesday and Thursday you were constantly reminding them, look, you've beaten Currie already on their home patch.
Yeah, I think that's a chat every week. And look, even we've got a great squad, but at times, sometimes I think the players forget how actually good we can be, and that's the message. The last couple of weeks, especially over Christmas, going into the new year, we have to back that we are a good side. And look, there's no beating around the bush. We want top position, we want a home semi-final, and when you get to this stage of the season, we have to try and make that happen. And look, it's a competitive squad, and these boys need to start believing that we can go on hopefully and achieve something that's not been done for a long time. But look, it's going to be hard work, especially at home. Every time we've covered games, every team wants to come here and win. It's a place in the Premiership where teams want to win, and we're going to have to be at our best, with shadowed out the day with this Currie side.
And you mentioned the history there. It's been 20 years, in fact, since Hawick won the championship. It's quite a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a long time, and I think, look, we kind of get carried away because as we go into the playoffs, so we've obviously qualified for the playoffs. That was our first goal, and it's now about trying to secure a home semi-final. Obviously, we'd love to finish top of the pile. I think these players deserve it, but look, games like this you have to win, and it's going to be tough. Going to be tough to get a result in these conditions, but we have to back our ability and get our game plan right. And yeah, look, as a club of Hawick, to 20 odd years since they've won a title's a long time, and we're probably in the best position we have been in 22 years to win one. So look, it's got to be hard work, and we're not there yet, and we've got I still think we've got a lot to work on, but look, we're approaching business end, and we need to start, putting performances in, leading into the playoffs.
And just finally for now, team news. You've got a big squad to choose from. Must be a bit of a headache for you, but certainly good for the fact that you're getting the right people on the pitch.
Yeah, it's a hard one, Stuart. I always say that, that's the hardest part of the job is, informing somebody they're not in the team. But look, we have got great depth. Matty Carrier, Rory McLeod, boys like that are across playing at the YM pitch today. So these boys are waiting for a chance. But look, we've got a strong squad, and I think we've got a settled squad as well. And to have the ability to rest Sean Fairbairn, who probably might have made it today, but to have the Rhys Tate come in, who is a Hawick boy and is key. He was training last week. So yeah, we've got a strong squad, and I think it's probably on us today to put another big performance in front of a big crowd here at Mansfield.
Well, it's all set up for a good one.
Yeah,
good luck.
Stuart.
Good
Cheers.
luck. Joined at the back of the stand now by Mark Cairns, Currie head coach, of course. How are things going at Millennium Park at the moment?
Yeah, pretty happy overall, really, with the way the season's gone. It's obviously a big day today. We'll see how far we've come since Hawick came down to Millennium and got a good victory away from home. So looking forward to today's game to see how far we've come.
I was going to say, because that victory for Hawick over there was probably the only blot on the season, really, for you.
Yeah, we would have liked to have won away at Marr, and then we had opportunities to do that as well. But yeah, we've managed to win a fair bit, get the bonus points. Scoring's never been our problem. It's shoring up things in terms of our defence. So that's something we've been focusing on really at the turn of the year. And I was really happy with how our defence went last week against Hawks.
And you mentioned your bonus points, 12 of them in all, as far as the try bonuses, but also a couple of losing bonuses in there as well, more than any other team.
Yeah, sure. We've got a real focus on our attack. We praise that a lot in training, and for me as a coach, I've got to kind of change that a little bit to make sure I'm praising the defence just as much and not getting upset with the attack when when our defence gets on top at times. So that's a balance I think we've struck pretty well over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and hopefully we'll see some of that out on the pitch today.
And of course, a lot of your matches you started really slowly. I mean, I'm remembering the Musselburgh games and things like that, and then you came back really well, and that didn't just happen once, that happened quite a few times. What was the thinking about that? That must be, as a coach, very frustrating.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. I must be saying all sorts of nonsense before they go out. But now last week we actually got the first try in the game against Hawks, which was pleasing because we hadn't done that in a match since Jed at the very start of the season, first game of the season. They obviously got the first points of the game. We'll have to start strong today. We've just got to stay in the fight for as long as possible, and then when it gets to the last 5-10 minutes of the match, if we're in the fight, then we'll see what happens to Hawick when the pressure's on them.
It's a real credit, isn't it, to Currie, the fact that you've lost 3 and yet you could go top tonight.
Yeah, sure. So I think the point system in the league makes it worth playing for at every stage of the game. I think it rewards teams that have just lost out on in certain games, and it rewards an attacking mindset. So the fact we've scored lots of tries and got lots of try bonus points puts us in a position where, should we win today, we could go top. Yeah.
And of course you've got Gregor Hunter in the lineup today. Now there's a key man.
Yeah, sure. If there's ever a guy that could shift a game, it's him. Especially when we want to play in the right areas of the pitch. Hawick have got a very strong set piece. They score most of their tries from source within the opposition 22. So we just got to keep them outside our 22. And if there's ever a guy you wanted to control territory, it's Gregor.
Well, it's going to be an exciting one. First against second, lots at stake. Bill McLaren Shield, you'd like to take that back with you to Maloney Park? Yeah,
we've not spoken about that much, but we have won it. We've held on to it before, not for long enough, unfortunately. But it has been at Maloney, and that's something we'd like to see. But our full focus is on that league position and getting ourselves in position to hopefully secure a home playoff as well as a home semi should we get there.
Well, we wish you all the best. Let's hope for a good game. Thanks so much indeed.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Hi, Nikki Walker here, Curriculum Manager for Borders College Sport. Are you passionate about sport? If so, then look out for the return of our Borders College rugby, football and hockey courses in early 2023.
Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
To commemorate the 7th anniversary of the opening of the Borders Railway, an 8 DVD box set is now available featuring the complete series Borders Railway from start to finish, plus the full hour-and-a-half documentary 5 Years On, which examines the possibility of an extension to Carlisle, plus extra features including a cab journey along the entire Borders Railway, all for the special price of just £14.99, including post and packing. You can get your copy direct from hotdisc.co.uk/shop. That's hotdisc.co.uk/shop. The 8 DVD box set, the complete Borders Railway, is available now.
When the weather's dreich and a storm's a-brewing, you need a strong, windproof, quality umbrella delivered with good old-fashioned customer service and at an affordable price. Up here in Umbrella Heaven, we say you tackle the ball, we'll tackle the weather. UmbrellaHeaven.com for when the heavens open.
Borders Rugby TV's charity partner Evie's Baton Journey is having a ball on March the 25th at Springwood Park, Kelso. Tickets and sponsorship details are now available on the official Facebook page, which you can visit from bordersrugby.net. Evie's having a ball, March the 25th, Springwood Park, Kelso.
This is Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio.
Yes, we're 15 minutes away from kick-off here at Mansfield Park, Hawick against Currie. And after it's all over today, we're going to head up to Philippock, 4th versus 5th in the Premiership. That's Selkirk at home to Marr. It's such an important game for both sides chasing a playoff position. We'll be having second half commentary for you a little bit later on. But let's hear first of all from head coach of Selkirk, and that of course is Scott White.
We're kind of terming it as a cup final. It's really an important game for us. It's a huge game. We've obviously got a 6-point advantage on them, but I think this will determine whether or not we're going to finish the season in the top 4. So it's a huge game then going into the last 3 games. Team selection wise this week, Backline will stay exactly the same as last week, and then in the forward pack, Zen and James Head will be off, unfortunately. Picked up niggles last week, so Bruce Riddle will move to tight head, James Bett will come into the middle row, and then Callum Turnbull will start in the middle row. So I mean, it's a pretty set squad, and it's one that everybody's looking forward to the challenge, and we're really excited about it. But it's just that consistency that we speak about every week, and just being more consistent for the 80 minutes and being in the fight for 80 minutes. I mean, last week, we probably couldn't have got off to a worse start, or 14-0 down after 4 minutes. So that kind of puts into context how big a win that was at 21-17. But I thought the boys were outstanding for the other 60 minutes. We stayed in the fight, we defended really well, we took our 3 tries really well, which is really pleasing to see. And we've obviously got the added bonus this week. We've had 2 guys put forward to John McPhail scholarship. So Munro this year, obviously we thought there was going to be a huge void in Ewan McDougall retiring, club captain last year, but I think Munro's stepped up for the youth club, and he's been part of every squad every week and stepped in at number 8. Probably not a number 8 when he stepped up, but I tell you one thing, the kid's got talent. He stepped in there and he's made a real impact. So he's going to be a great loss for the end of the season if we do make the top 4. They're obviously leaving to South Africa at the end of summer, and Callum Smythe's probably not had the best start to adult rugby when he came up. He's been involved in 3 games, but he's picked up an injury and then he's picked up an illness. So this is him just kind of getting back to being full fit. But it's great for Selkirk to be connected to these 2 guys, and obviously them being 2 guys out the whole of Scotland to be nominated to go to John McPhail scholarship. So look, it's really positive at Selkirk. We're in a good place, and there's lots of positive things happening.
Scott White looking ahead to this one. We can cross now to Philip Hawke right now. Join up with Robin Purdie, who'll be commentating on that one and also keeping us up to date with news on the first half. That kicks off at 3 o'clock. Welcome, Robin.
Good afternoon, Stuart.
How's things looking up there?
Gloriously sunny at the moment. It is bitterly cold, however, as I'm sure it is in Hawick, and as you mentioned, it's a big old game here at Philip Hawke. A lot on the line for both of these teams this afternoon. A win for Selkirk stands them in very good stead for the 4th, if not 3rd, playoff spot. Marr are after the exact same prize, however, so yeah, it's all on the line here.
Well, as Scott mentioned, 2 Selkirk players have been awarded the John McPhail Scholarship Prize, which in the past is obviously won by some big names, people like Finn Russell, John Barclay, George Turner, to name just 3, who have all gone on to get full Scotland honours. But also 2 people who are actually here today have also won. Graham Hogg, who won't be playing, he won it in 2006, and then 6 years later, Gregor Hunter, who will be playing today. Very, very prestigious, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is, Stuart. Other names to mention there: Johnny Gray, Grant Gilchrist and Adam Ash as well, and some of the coaches, Mike Blair, the current Edinburgh coach, Duncan Hodge has been over, Chris Patterson's been over. So yeah, it's very prestigious, as you say. The scholarship was created in 2005 as a sort of partnership between the Robertson Trust and the SRU. Basically, it was created in the memory of an ex-Scotland internationalist, John McPhail, who played in the late 40s and early 50s, and it's basically been developed for talented youngsters to go and immerse themselves in a new environment, but also a high quality environment. This year, of course, they go to the famous Stellenbosch Academy in South Africa, but it's been in New Zealand in the past, and yeah, you just look at some of those names that have benefited from that in the past, and you hope it'll be the same for the 3 young lads that are away over there in the coming weeks.
Well, back to the game itself. Marr don't like playing Selkirk, do they? It's their bogey side.
No, it seems to be in recent times, and of course Selkirk had a famous win over there back in October by 28 points to 19, so yeah, they would bite your hand off for a similar scoreline here today.
Well, we'll return to talk to you a little bit later on for team news, etc. But let's now have a look at National 1, and Kelso still top of the table and play the bottom club, Stuart's Melville, this afternoon. That's at 3 o'clock. And we got the thoughts of Director of Rugby Neil Hinnigan ahead of this one.
We beat them up there 35-12 after a really good first half. Second half, actually Stu Mill beat us up there for the second half. And we came away a little bit disappointed with our second half performance up there, and that kind of reflects on slightly how we played against Biggar last week. We were very good first half, 19-0 up, and looked really efficient, really clinical, defended well. And then second half, we just, Biggar, to be fair to them, came out and really took the game to us and asked more questions, changed their game plan a little bit from the first half, and it worked well for them. And we just started making uncharacteristic mistakes and some missed tackles, and ended up getting ourselves into a little bit of an arm wrestle. And thankfully, we had enough about us to get through the game and get the 5 points, which is ultimately the main goal. But performance-wise, it could have been a bit better. And this week we've worked on a few things like that, and there's been some changes made to the team. Grant Shields and Alan Frame dropped to the bench, and that leaves a start for Charlie Marshall and young Ashton Asante, who's only 18, and along with Murray Woodcock, another guy that's only 18, and he's getting a start in the back row, starting at 6. Archie Cummins drops out the squad completely, and that allows these young guys who have had a little bit of a taste earlier in the season. They've not had a lot since, so we feel we need to get these guys involved. They're training really hard, so they're asking the questions. So Bruce and Kev have decided that they can get their chance, and hopefully that drives us to find more for them and more depth if we can manage that. In the backs, Nick Stingle goes to the wing, and Greg Ponton returns to the team at fullback, meaning that Cammy Brown drops to the bench. So a few changes, yeah. I mean, our bench is fairly strong with Grant Shields and Alan Frame, Angus Cummins, along with young Aaron Lunn, who's in line to make his first team debut. Aaron lives in Kelso now, but he's originally a Duns lad who's moved to Kelso. He's been there for the last 18 months, but he's never actually featured in the first team, but he's been playing really well for the seconds. He's going to hopefully get an opportunity on Saturday as well. So there's a few changes. We're a little bit unsettled that way, but hopefully it's a real positive that we can get the job done, and guys can have good performances and put pressure on others. And we know how difficult Stumel will be. Yes, they're at the wrong end of the table. However, they've lost about 4 of their last games between 4 and 8 points, so they're really knocking on the door. And I know what they're all about, and they play a good brand of rugby. They've just been a little bit unlucky at times as well. So hopefully they don't get a lot of luck on Saturday, and hopefully we run it, and again we can keep the ball rolling and get 5 points.
Well, also National 1 Melrose looking to make amends for last week's defeat against Ayr by heading north to play Aberdeen Grammar at Ruberslaw. We spoke earlier with Melrose scrum half Doug Crawford.
Obviously we were bitterly disappointed after the result on Saturday against Ayr. Initial thoughts is that's the league sort of lost and us out for running. But then you look forward and you think there's still 9 games left. Leagues aren't won in January. There's still plenty of rugby to play, and National 1's proven it's such a competitive league with the season going down right to the wire last year that anything can happen, and we've got to focus on improving our own performance. We've got a tough fixture away against Aberdeen this week to try and turn things around. Use that as a platform to really push for the end of the season so that we're still in contention with Ayr and Kelso at the top of the table. And that's all we can really do is focus on each game, try and get as many points as we can. Bonus points will be crucial now, and if we can keep picking up 5 points, then we're going to stay on the heels of Kelso and Ayr. And it's a bit out of our hands now with a result on the weekend, but we can just focus on what we can do and control what we can control. So it should make for a great end to the season.
And staying in National 1, Gala face GHK, a trip to Glasgow for them to face Peter Wright's side. But before they set off, we caught up with player coach Ewan Dodds.
This weekend we travel to GHK, knowing that there's no easy games in National 1. Although we were satisfied with the victory last weekend at home to Dundee, we know that there are areas of our performance that we could improve on. So we look forward to taking up that challenge at GHK. Due to some unavailability due to work and injury, there will be some changes to the side, but this provides opportunity for some other guys to put their hand up for selection for the rest of the season. We hope to continue the good results since the turn of the year, and hopefully we can put in another good performance.
Ewan Dodds there. Well, in National League 2, Peebles are at home to Preston Lodge, and Berwick visit Falkirk, both needing wins to remain absolutely safe from relegation zone, which of course will see 5 of the 12 clubs relegated. Turning our attention though to the East Leagues, and in Division 1, bottom club Duns travel to table toppers North Berwick, while in National 2 we could see Langham gain promotion if they get a draw at second place Christopher. And waiting for us in Edinburgh, our reporter is Hugh Brown.
Langham fell at the final hurdle last May when they lost to Leith in a promotion decider. When I interviewed skipper Nathan Smith that day, he said they were determined to go one better this season, and now with an unbeaten record, they're just 80 minutes away from being crowned East League Division 2 champions. Standing in their way are second place Corstorphine, who will be out to spoil the party and keep their dream of the title alive. Langham are at full strength for today's encounter, so it's all to play for this afternoon. Let's hope Langham can make it 10 wins out of 10. Here at Union Park, it's Corstorphine versus Langham. Kick-off 2 o'clock.
Langham looking to remain unbeaten and the only Borders team with a 100% record so far this season, so we wish them well in that. Well, unbeaten in East League 3 this season are Hawick Quins, who welcome Lismore to Wilton Lodge Park today, and they'll surely be following Langham by getting promotion over the next coming weeks. But also in the 3rd division, there's a derby between Earlston and Galloway M, and covering that one from the Hoch this afternoon is Sam Matthews.
Yes, that's right. I'm here for the local derby, bottom of the league implications today. It is a big day for both of these clubs, and you can feel it in the stands here at Earlston. 8th place in the table with 7th place Galloway M joining them here. They could both do with the 5 points today to get them back in touch with Liberton and the rest of the league table. But today will be no easy task in itself. Earlston can call on 7 subs, which is great for East League 3 and grassroots rugby as a whole, while the YM have a whole extra week as they had no game last week due to the 9 teams in the league, so they will be itching to get the ball back in their hands and get some rugby in their legs again. It's a big day we have at the Haw. Scores and updates throughout here at Earlston. Earlston are taking on YM. Kick-off is at 2 p.m.
Sam Matthews reporting from the Hoch this afternoon. Well, we're fast approaching 3 o'clock here at Mansfield Park, and we're all set for the big clash. It's Hawick against Currie in the Premiership, first against second, and for live exclusive commentary of the full match today, let's hand over to former Hawick and Scotland winger Nikki Walker, but first Dale Clancy.
Thanks, Stuart, and welcome along to Mansfield Park, where the current unbeaten league leaders welcome second place Currie in the Premiership. The visitors were the beaten finalists last season in a bit of a smash and grab at Mullenny against Marr, and they'll be hoping to go one better this time around, whilst also exacting a little bit of revenge and wiping away Hawick's unbeaten record in the league after suffering a heavy defeat earlier in the season. 4 points separate the sides before kick-off, and the Green Machine will be hoping to retain their position at the top of the pile, a position they have held since the 22nd of October, and it'll certainly consolidate their home advantage going into the playoffs. A lot to play for at the top table of domestic rugby. Hawick, they do make a few changes from their win against Marr on the road last weekend. It's the return of Ronan McKean and Redpath to the starting lineup, and that demonstrates the depth at the disposal of head coach Matty Douglas, and Gordon Woolley drops to the bench and Fairbairn dropping out due to injury. Sean Muir, he is going to lead the side from Loosehead. The visitors, Currie, they've used 10 more players this season than their opponents, and key players are certainly missing from their starting lineup. The absence of Innes and Meagher and Sim in the backs will be felt, albeit softened slightly with the return of Gregor Hunter at standoff, and he'll be partnering Christie, who starts at 9. Inglis gets a start in the second row, as well as a second appearance in Currie colours for Glasgow Academy prop Jamie Drummond. It has certainly been a long time since domestic success has been tasted at Mansfield Park, but the man alongside me this afternoon knows how much it means to this club. And if memory serves me right, Nicky, you were in the squad that last lifted the Premiership crown here at Hawick.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think it was 22 years ago. So it's been a long wait, and I think the momentum's with the home team Hawick today, and I think Matty Douglas was speaking about it before. They've got that eye on the title, and they're just trying to keep that momentum going. A big challenge here today against Currie, top two, the two best teams in the league in my opinion by quite a way, to be honest. So it's got to be a big match for both teams.
And obviously, the reshuffle and the reshake of Scottish Club Rugby, there's still a lot of really good, talented players out on the park today. Is there any in particular that you're thinking are, going to really stand out in this fixture?
Yeah, well, there's a few players that have actually dropped back down from Super 6 and actually are playing. Corey McGovern was with Watsonians, Gregor Christie's another Watsonians, Greg Carney was with Watsonians at Boroughmuir as well. So there's 3 players there that are in the Currie squad, Jamie Forbes as well. But then there's guys in the Hawick squad that I think that could push on and go further. Hector Patterson at 9, he'll certainly speed up the game for Hawick, getting a game to start at 9. And the boy Ethan Riley at 12 as well. He's been really impressive since he's come from Australia and joined Hawick.
Ethan Riley, only one of 2 players yet to score any points so far this season in this 20-man squad for Hawick. Rhys Davis, the Currie captain, is going to lead his charges out onto the field, making his 97th appearance for the Currie side. We're just awaiting the arrival of the Hawick players from the tunnel. And the Currie players just lining up on the 15-metre line. and Hawick are certainly keeping the visitors waiting in a crunch battle at the top of the Premiership. Only 4 points separating the two teams. There could be a slight change in the order in the table at the end of this fixture, but Hawick will have a lot to say about that, particularly Sean Muir, who is captain today and leading the team on to the field. But it is going to be Hawick to kick off here, and they're going to be kicking away from the clubhouse end, left to right. Michael Todd, the referee, gives a blast of the whistle, and Kirk Ford lumps it downfield into the Currie half, and he's just put a little bit too much onto that, and it just drifts over the touchline there. And that's not an ideal start for Kirk Ford, but he has been consistent so far this season.
Yeah, just a misjudgment of the wind there. Obviously carried a little bit further with the kick, and it's just went just out and no more. So we've got a scrum middle of the park, Currie's possession. It'll be interesting to see how Currie manages half playing into the wind, if they'll try and play or if they will still try and kick for territory.
Yeah, there is certainly a strong wind here at Mansfield Park, and it's due to get stronger. And every single flag you look at here is fluttering in slightly different directions, but Currie will be looking to utilise this and strike from this early opportunity on the halfway line. Michael Todd just bringing it back again as he's not happy with the set piece. And straight into the middle and going to the other side where Sean Muir is lining up against Cairn Ramsey. We'll give you the full starting lineups in the next break of play. The Currie number 9, Gregor Christie, is ready to pop the ball in with Michael Todd adjacent to him across from the scrum. Hector Patterson for Hawick just loitering behind. The battle of the nines is going to be crucial here as Gregor Hunter comes to the stand side here, and he just feeds Greg Canny. He's met well by Ethan Riley, and also Hector Patterson sweeping up very well at the back. A little bit of interchange in play there from Stuart and Rhys Davis, but the ball has went to ground, and Hawick looked to counter, but it has just drifted over the touchline. And Ethan Riley, you mentioned him before the game, quite slight in stature, but defensively he does put his body on the line. Yeah, he looks very solid, doesn't he? A lot of dominant tackles when we watched him earlier in the season against Accies, and he started the game there with another dominant tackle in his opposite number. Greg Canny is a really strong start for him. There could be a throw into the line out for Currie, and it's Ryan Stewart, ex-Peebles. A throw into the line out, and it's not been the smoothest of calls there for the visitors, as it bobbles off a knee and comes back into Hawick hands now. Fraser Rennick running straight into the heart of Ali McCallum, who wraps him up well, but Hector Patterson gets to the breakdown on the 15-metre line. Sean Muir now peeling off the side of that ruck, takes it up, not making much ground over the gain line, but setting up the platform for Kyle Brunton to find Ethan Riley. We've got Ferguson off his wing, who then does find Ford, who looks to chip over the top, but has been charged down and falls straight into the hands of Lewis Ferguson. So the momentum still here in this move as Rennick tips on to Nicky Little, but it's been fumbled just short of the Currie 22. And now Christie, he finds James McCaig. 5 tries so far this season for the Currie winger. There's certainly a team that like to score tries. They're the top try scorers in the Premiership so far. We've got 76 tries, which is 13 more than the next team, which happens to be Hawick on 63, but Currie have made their way over the halfway line, swept up by Christie. Christie in the hands of some supporting players there, like Jamie Drummond. And missing out Gregor Hunter there, as he looks to try and go deep and spark some ignition into this attack, but Michael Todd brings it back, and it's been an opening 3 minutes here with a couple of mistakes and some early jitters for both sides, because they know the importance of this fixture.
Yeah, there's been early mistakes, but you can see the intent from both teams. I think Hawick kept the ball for 2 or 3 phases and got to the edge, and Kirk Ford characteristically tried to kick through on the edge and get territory. And then you've got Currie on the other hand playing from deep. It may be because of the conditions playing into the wind, they're not confident kicking into that wind. But I think that's probably been the way Currie play. They like to try and play, as you said before, they score a lot of points. But it'll just be interesting to see how they defend. I think that I've listened to Mark Cairns' comments before the game, that he's comfortable in the way they attack, but it's the issue of their defence, and will they be able to keep out Hawick today?
Currie's conceded 9.5 points more on average per game than Hawick, so it's certainly a weakness for them. As Currie from the line out, they find Hall, who links up with Canny as his centre partnership, but Fraser Rennick was up like a spring there and tried to turn over the ball, but it is Ewan Stewart, the towering second row. He's partnering Inglis today, and it's the aforementioned Inglis now on the ball up to the 22, and it's been wrapped up well there on the ground. I think that was perhaps Fraser Rennick again, or Callum Rennick this time. The brother lending a hand at the breakdown, and it's a penalty to Hawick.
Yeah, good defence there, Callum Rennick. I think he's been outstanding with what I've seen of him this season. Good turnover on the floor. His work rate is really good. Converted actually from hooker into the back row because his brothers came and potentially took his position in his first choice position. But you know, he's finding himself in that back row, and he's really making a name for himself.
The Hawick line-up, just as the ball comes up to the halfway line, it's going to be Rennick to throw in. He starts in the front row with Muir and Little, with Sudden and Redpath in the second row, with Sutherland, Rennick, Callum Rennick and Stuart Graham in the back row. And he's going to throw in to this line out. He's been met at the front there by Sudden, and the maul starts driving on, and Hector Patterson is loitering in behind, but it is Callum Rennick who splinters from the right hand side on the tight side of the touchline here at Mansfield Park, but manages to stay in field. Currie trying to spoil it at the breakdown, but Hector Patterson's got eyes on that. Does go into the hands of Ross Graham, the starting hooker this afternoon, but he spills it in contact, and it comes back to Currie, who looked to pounce from deep. Hall finds Canny. Canny now finding Forbes on the 15-metre line. He kicks downfield, and he's made good distance from that, but it certainly is a comfortable chance here for Hawick to clear their lines. It is Kirk Ford who's back sweeping up, starting at full-back. The wingers of Ferguson and McKean. Mitchell and Riley in the centres, with the half-back pairing of Patterson and Brunton. And Kirk Ford is met by Gregor Hunter there. Just managed to get his feet off the ground enough, you think, but potentially not a... You're maybe questioning that decision there, Nicky?
No, I thought Gregor Hunter was legitimate to go and make the tackle there. I think Kirk was on the floor the time he made that collision, but it's a penalty to Hawick, and Kirk will kick it into... Has he found touch? Yeah, good kick. So they're on the 22 and on the attack now.
That's a brilliant kick from Kirk Ford downfield inside his own half, and gets it into the Currie 22. Currie starting with Forbes at full-back, McCaig and the try-scoring machine of McGovern on the wings, Hall and Canny in the centres, with Christie and Hunter the half-back pair, and Drummond, Ryan Stewart and Kieran Ramsey in the front row, Ingalls and Stewart in the second row, with McCallum, Nelson and the captain Davis in the back row for Currie. The Chieftains start this game 4 points behind Hawick in the league, and they'll be certainly looking to try and narrow that margin, if not overtake them. It's a position they've not held since the 1st of October, when they were displaced by Edinburgh Accies at the top of the pile. Now Hawick find Brunton. Brunton's got Riley. Riley's got some support outside him, and it is Kirk Ford. He's got a 2-1 opportunity. Finds Lewis Ferguson. He goes back in field, and he stands up his man, gets over the try line, and that is a brilliant first phase try from Hawick through the hands. And what a finish from the winger, Lewis Ferguson. It looked like he had a lot of work to do, and he made his opposite man, McGovern, look pretty silly.
Yeah, it's a really good finish by Lewis, but the handling before that off the left hand, Ethan Riley to Kirk Ford, who managed to put Lewis Ferguson away on the right hand side wing there, but really good finish. I was just going to mention just before, it looked like Currie are defending really tight. Round the rucks and off set piece, they look fairly tight, and there is going to be space in that 50-metre channel if Hawick can move the ball to the width.
Yeah, and it's interesting to be defending so narrowly against a team that, have got try scorers out wide. McKean with 7 tries, Mitchell outside centre with 7 tries, floats in between inside and outside, but also Lewis Ferguson, who does get his 7th try of the season, now joint top try scorer with the 2 lads I just mentioned there. So a great finish there from Ferguson, and it's first blood to Hawick. I'm just waiting on the arrival of the kicking tee. It's taken a bit of time, but it's been a good start from Hawick. It's been a bit unsettling for both sides, but it's certainly first phase ball straight from the line out. They've taken their opportunity well there, Nicky.
Yeah, you can see that it's a top of the league clash. There's been a little bit of nerves to start with. There's been mistakes, but those mistakes have potentially come from the intensity and the collision as well. So, both teams have defended reasonably well. They're trying to make dominant tackles and force those errors. You can see there's a lot of feeling in the game. So, hopefully that continues, because it's been a really good game so far.
Ford, right-footed kick, 10 metres in from the stand side, and he gets his 100th point of the season from the boot. Takes him up to 110 points. That is a couple of other points on top of that as well. He's certainly been Mr. Consistent with the boot, and he adds the extras, and it's Hawick 7, Currie 0. We've played 9.5 minutes here at Mansfield Park, and it's been a tetchy start, but Hawick, they strike first, and now back into the hands of Ford from the restart from Currie. He kicks downfield, and Lewis Ferguson is tasked with getting his running skates on. And now Forbes coming back against the stand side, throws the dummy, but he's been met with Nicky Little. I don't think it was much of a challenge. I just think that there was maybe a mismatch in weight there, as Forbes just ran straight into the chest a Little and then burrowed and cowered on the ground. But the Currie players got round their fullback to secure that ball. Now in the hands of the captain, Davis, making his 13th appearance this season. Hall linking up in field with Cody McGovern, the second top try scorer in the league after Craig Robertson of Heriots. And Currie looking to try and go through the phases and build some momentum in this game and strike back straight away. As Greg Canny links up with Hunter on the 15-metre line and takes his inside ball. Now in the hands of Stuart, who splinters through the defence. Some footwork takes him up towards the 22, and the support arrives for Currie. Cartery there from Ali McCallum. Takes play just inside of the Hawick 22, and a striking opportunity there for Christie. He looks to burrow his way through the flailing Hawick arms. Makes a couple of yards as well. And Stuart feeds the ball to the supporting act there on the side of the ruck. The cavalry to come round again and looking to keep it tight here and force themselves closer and closer towards this Hawick line. Stuart now, the ball tucked under his left arm, gets the ball back and now in the hands of Hunter. Hunter looks to go it alone. He's been met with a solid hit there from Connor Sutherland. He managed to ride that challenge well, and the ball is going to come back on Currie's side. Currie looking to clear out, get a cleaner ball. It's slowed down slightly, the tempos went out the game and went out this passage of play as Forbes is having to use his experience as an auxiliary 9 to try and keep the momentum going. But the loose pass there comes to Ethan Riley, and his went really loose. Ronan McKean now hacking downfield, and it's open prairie. If this ball can stay in, it's just bobbled and it's just went out on the 22, because you fancied Ronan McKean to sweep that ball up and go in for a score. But Currie running out of numbers, creating some momentum in the game, looking to get that overlap. They didn't have players out, and Hawick looked to pounce from inside their own 22.
Yeah, Currie look dangerous when they move the ball, don't they? I just think if they go into that tight game, that turgid sort of arm wrestle, then Hawick's going to have the upper hand, because I think they've got a stronger pack. But when Currie move the ball like they did there to Greg Carney down the right hand side, they can get some momentum, they can get on the front foot and get against a broken defence. But when they're playing in front of Hawick look pretty strong, and they manage to get force the error there and get some possession and get some territory.
And they've also got the ball back from that line out, because it's been flapped back by the big hand of Daniel Sudden. And now Hawick have found themselves in an attacking position with Redpath just blasting his way over the top of Gregor Nelson. And out an acute line from Andrew Mitchell, bounces off the first challenge, and now Ethan Riley is on the shoulder. The centre partnership linking up well there and pouncing, and Ethan Riley gets his first try in Hawick colours, and it gets him off the mark for the season. But the hard work was done there by Andrew Mitchell and the forwards initially to get the ball back on the Hawick side.
Nice sharp line there from Andrew Mitchell. That's him in a nutshell. That's his game, isn't it? Taking to the gain line, breaking the first tackle, and he done really well to get his hands free, ball back in two hands, and really good support line by Ethan Riley, who runs round and scores under the post, or close to the post. So really nice try again by Hawick's backs. Really good play.
Before the game, Mark Cairns was talking about how Currie can score tries, and in an attacking point of view, they're quite comfortable. Defensively, they know there's vulnerabilities there, but Hawick defensively are strong. They've conceded on an average of 12 points a season, so Currie are going to have to try and do something pretty quickly, because Hawick can certainly unlock them.
Yeah, the defence from Hawick so far has been excellent. We talk about guys like Connor Sutherland, Fraser Rennick, Callum Rennick. They're putting so much pressure on the breakdown as well, so it means that Currie's getting slow ball, which means it's a lot easier for the rest of the team to then defend. So yes, the pressure at the breakdown's been key so far.
And the round of applause there was for the extras to be added by Kirkford. 100% success rate so far, 2 from 2 for the full-back. The youngster equally is comfortable at fly half as well, but he is proven to be a vital cog in the Hawick wheel so far this season. The restart does bounce into the hands of Fraser Rennick, who was perhaps not expecting that to come his way, but did well to gather the ball, as it's now back to Brunton, who just pings it straight downfield, and he's got some good momentum on this, but it might just carry that line at the back. Gregor Hunter just having a little look at that, carried it over, and he's Nicky Walker's got his right arm out at the moment, so Gregor Hunter is looked to try and straddle that touchline there and bring the ball back, and obviously he was looking to try and take play back up towards the Hawick 22.
Yeah, there's been a change of rules that you can't do that anymore, so it is just a 22 dropout. Gregor Hunter's obviously looking for the scrum back in where Kyle kicked the ball, but it's a dropout from behind their own post. So it actually ends up being a really good kick. It's not went dead, but it's went into the dead ball area. But it's a dropout from under their own posts into the wind, so Hawick will get the ball back probably 30-40 metres out.
Yeah, it's not a bad option. He's kicked it pretty much the full distance of the field. Hunter's got to kick it into the wind. It's just went straight into the hands of Patterson, who looks to get play back underway through Brunton, stepping back in field. He's been met with a really strong shoulder there from a couple of Currie players. Nelson and Davis were the two players there, just trying to nudge the Hawick fly half back slightly. Muir carrying forward and is ripped from his grasp by Fraser Rennick, and he takes it forward a little bit more, but Muir recycles himself well and gets closer towards that 22. Now an acute line there from Mitchell again, and he evades the clutches of the Currie defence and squirms his way over the 22 as Hawick look to try and get themselves into that danger zone yet again. 15 and a half minutes gone here, and it's currently Hawick 14, Currie 0. So it's been a lightning start for the home side as they look to consolidate their place at the top of the Tennent's Premiership. The defence this time for Currie holding a little bit firmer than perhaps Mark Cairn has been alluding to in his pre-match words. And Brunton now finds Riley. Riley's got Stuart Graham outside him, and he looks to go it alone. He bounces off Gregor Hunter at the first attempt, but he gets 2 bites at him, and he manages to drag him down eventually. Now big Dalton Redpath just going in between two of Currie defenders. Will Ingalls is one of them. Patterson finding Brunton. The Currie defence is up pretty sharp there on Fraser Rennick, just stopping that momentum and that potential overlap. Now Hawick look like they've tried to manipulate an opportunity here into the hands of Ronan McKean. He looks to burst over the challenge inside the Currie 22. Kirk Ford keeps the momentum going quickly. Redpath now in support, just bursting back towards where the contact was. Sean Muir picking and going towards that Currie 5 metre line over on the bank inside here at Mansfield. Patterson, he's got some support yet again. It's Hawick maintain the ball through Sudden and Sutherland, and now Patterson looking to go blind, and it was McKean there with the try line potentially beckoning, and it just bounced off his shoulder and went forward and out the field of play. In terms of ball retention, it was pretty consistent there from Hawick, but a little bit sloppy at the end.
Yeah, I think they just lost patience a little bit. They got 5 metres out and they've obviously went down the blind. They've made an error, but I think every time Hawick keep the ball, that Currie's defence just looks a little bit all over the place. They're losing shape really quickly. There's a lot of space in the 50 metre channels. The forwards are not working hard enough on reset, and I think Mark Cairns will be really panicking and worried about his defence, because every time Hawick get the ball at the moment, it looks like they're going to score.
Okay, I'll dip in here because there's a little injury to Fraser Rennick. Just to say that Musselburgh are leading Heriots Blues 3-0 at the moment. The only other score, latest update from the Premiership, it's Biggar 7, Highland 0, Aberdeen Grammar 0, Melrose 7 in National 1. And in National 2, it's Cartha Queen's Park 0, Dumfries 3.
Currie thrown to the line-out, but has come back on a Hawick side, and they strike 5 metres away from the Currie line. Again, the Currie line out just not ticking for them at the moment. Ryan Stewart not able to find his target as Fraser Rennick burrows forward and gets so close to that line. He's about a metre away. It's Sudden, feeds Muir. Muir has got some support there as well as they look to bounce the captain over the line, but not able to. Now Patterson finds Brunton. Brunton spills the ball out to Mitchell. He's got a 2-on-1. The ball is bobbling in front of Kirk Ford into the hands of Ferguson. He goes once, goes twice, goes outside, and he's bundled into touch by Gregor Hunter. A little bit better defensively there from Kyle McGovern. It's Cody McGovern, sorry. He managed to just watch the feet of Lewis Ferguson, not able to stand up as winger this time, but the support did arrive, and it was vital that it did.
Yeah, it was good cover defence by Cody McGovern in the end. You know, the last ditch tackle on the corner flag there, but you know, the ball went to the ground by Kyle Brunton, who made a poor pass. But if that goal goes to hand, I think either Kirkford or Lewis Ferguson are walking in on the edge. You know, the defence is fairly poor.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be a yellow card for Gregor Hunter. I think the assistant referee on the stand side here has adjudged that it's been a high challenge, so it's been above the shoulders of Lewis Ferguson as he tried to go in for the score. So Gregor Hunter is going to spend 10 minutes in the sin bin.
I was wondering why that's not a penalty try if that's a high tackle as you're going in for a score. So it could. Gregor's pretty lucky not to have given away the penalty try and the yellow card.
Fraser Rennick 5 metres from the Currie line is thrown into the line out. It's ground to a halt, and Dalton Redpath is tasked with trying to just jump and get the ball back on a Hawick side. It has not went to plan there, and it certainly went off script for that repertoire at the line out, and it's a slight let off. But going back to the challenge there, the tackle from Gregor Hunter, it was potentially the fact that there was a couple of players there that the assistant referee and the referee could have adjudged that there could have been a tackle made, but I think Gregor Hunter did just ride a little bit high. But as it is, the opportunity for Hawick has been thrown away. They can't capitalise from that line out. It just looked like a lack of communication from the jumpers and the lifters, not able to get the call correct. A little bit confusion, but it's going to be a put into the scrum for Hawick, and it's Patterson feeding the scrum. They're both cancelling each other out, but Brunton takes the ball now. He's got some options there. He looks to just split the defence, and it almost opened up for him as the attacking lines from Mitchell and Riley dislodged the Currie defence, but the black wall holds firm as Patterson now finds Rennick, Fraser Rennick, and he tips it on to Sean Muir. Patterson looks to keep the momentum in this move going as Connor Sutherland now asked for the ball in hand so he can try and test this Currie defence. Patterson again has some options. One of them, Redpath, who looks to use his height and his power to breach the defence, but not able to. And Brunton now passing out the back to Riley. Riley's got Mitchell. Mitchell looks to go inside of Ryan Stewart. Bounces the big hooker off, and he saunters in for a score. His 8th try of the season. And that was pretty weak for Currie defensively, but the tempo that Hawick are bringing into their attacking phases is pretty good.
Yeah, the momentum that the forwards are generating into the collision with the carry, the likes of Shaw Muir, Fraser Rennick, Dalton Redpath initially, they're getting so much go forward and really tying in the Currie defence. Currie are getting really tight defensively, and then the likes of Andrew Mitchell and Ethan Riley are causing havoc in that midfield. Their opposite numbers just can't get a handle of them at the moment, and they're really getting the upper hand. And this should go to 21-0, I expect.
From a Hawick point of view, they'll be hoping that's not the commentator's curse, because Kirkford has probably got one of the easiest attempts at the posts. About 5 metres to the right hand side, and 5 metres inside the 22 as well. The right footed kicker does split the Kinlan yet again. 3 from 3, and it's Hawick 21, the Currie 0. And in terms of a start, we've got a long way still to go in this game. The conditions and the wind will have a big say, but it's been a lightning start from Hawick, and it is certainly a big message that they're sending to the rest of the division. It is going to be Currie to kick off again. Adam Hall is going to be the player to get play back underway as Mark Cairns screams at his team from the sideline. He's cutting a slightly frustrated figure just in front of us here at Mansfield Park. A few more smiles and calm heads in the Hawick technical area, but at 21-0 up against your nearest rivals, you can see why there's a contrast in emotions in the technical areas. Patterson finds Sudden, who tips it on to Rennick, and Fraser Rennick, who's carried for the umpteenth time in this game, finds Brunton back in the pocket, who spirals the ball downfield. Adam Hall is looking to try and secure that ball, and I'm looking to try and see if he has managed to keep that in, and he's done really well to keep that ball in the field of play, because he was all at sea for a minute there, but the Hawick players have come in and look at keep the ball buried inside that maul and suffocate the life out of this Currie defensive effort. And the ball will come back on a Hawick side if this goes to ground. The referee Michael Todd keeping a keen eye on this. It has went down, and it is going to be a put into the scrum to Hawick. And it was a great kick, a spiral, a bit of old school in challenging conditions, but it certainly made Adam Hall, look a bit lost when he was isolated in the backfield.
Yeah, he did pretty well. Adam did pretty well there to keep it on the field, but then obviously he was just isolated. Really good kick chase from Hawick, and they put them under pressure. But it's just, it's Currie don't want the game to get away from them here. They're playing at a tough win. They're 21 points down. If Hawick get another score or two, then the game could get away from them. And they're down to 14 men at the moment with Gregor Hunter off the field. So they just want to wind this clock down and get to half time and try and keep the score where it is, so the game doesn't get away from them. They've actually got a chance to come back in the second half. 25
minutes gone here at Mansfield Park, and it's a put into the scrum for Hawick, and they're charging it forward. The referee has judged that to have just twisted round. And the scrum's an interesting battle, but it's certainly going to pan out for the rest of this game. It's going to be a reset scrum, and we can get updates from the other results around the country.
Quickly going to National 2, Cartha Queen's Park 0, Dumfries 3, Falkirk 7, Berwick 3, a try by Gregor Dodd there. And something which will please Dale Clancy, Peebles 12, Preston Lodge 0, a couple of Ian Chisholm tries there. Also in East League, the big one at Kirstofen. It's Kirstofen 3, Langham 7 at the moment. In East League 2, of course, Langham unbeaten, could be champions today.
Ian Chisholm will be attending the Peebles Centenary dinner later on. He'll be regurgitating the stories of his 2 tries at the gates to anybody who'll listen to him. And now Hawick looking to try and make some stories of their own as they interlink in the backs from that set piece, and Ronan McKean working hard off of his wing is given the ball and he trundles forward with it, and that's a great carry there from Connor Sutherland, just bouncing off his opposite man as he looked to try and wrap up the big back row. Another player who's perhaps a bit of an unsung hero in this Hawick team is Connor Sutherland, as the ball works its way out to Kirkford, and again there seems to be some space on that banking side as he darts back in field. There was some support from Ronan McKean, who's went back to his habitual position on the left wing, but he's not fed the ball this time, and there's space up here on the stand side. The Hawick players are lining up now. Brunton's found Sutherland. He goes in between the 2 players yet again, but he's been met with some stern Currie defence this time. You feel if they got in behind that defensive line, it was try time and bonus point for Hawick, as Hector Patterson is wrapped up as he looked to snipe from the base of that ruck. Players ground to a slight halt, and it's a pedestrian pace as Hawick then go to the repertoire of setting up the platform yet again to launch another attack, and Sean Muir tipping on to Dalton Redpath, who's got to stay tall and fight hard to get the support there, and he does really well. The Hawick players do gather round and clear out the Currie defence, and there was a chance for an interception there, but it's got through the hands of Ferguson, and Ford, who had to turn and twist to gather the ball, was met with some Currie defence because Ronan McKean was lurking outside him on the left hand side. Nicky Little now, the front row, have carried an impressive amount of time so far in this game for Hawick, as has the Sudden and Redpath. Currie not contesting that ruck now, and Brunton just throwing a loose ball. Connor Sutherland having to sweep up, and he's knocked it on in the process. And Ryan Stewart is putting his chest into the back row and perhaps trying to get in the head of the Hawick back row, but defensively Currie looking a little bit stronger.
Yeah, there was some good defence there. They're definitely defending a bit better at the moment, putting a bit more pressure on the breakdown, slowing the ball down. It's just if Hawick get guys like Dalton Redpath, Fraser Rennick, Sean Muir onto the ball, it's just taking 2 or 3, sometimes 4 Currie defenders to bring it to the ground. That just means they're not elsewhere on the field, and it's creating space down the edges. So Kirkford, Lewis Ferguson, Andrew Mitchell, they're getting big inroads on the outside of the defence, and it's because of the hard work of the forwards in the middle of the field.
It's certainly been very fruitful for the backs. Riley, Mitchell and Ferguson all getting over the try line, which is helping cement this 21-0 lead. Buchanan has been tasked with trying to set up the platform and splintering from the scrum, but he's been isolated and he's been turned over by Kyle Brunton, who managed to hinge himself pretty well to get over that ball, isolate the outside centre, and it's a penalty to Hawick, and they're going to have a pop at the sticks.
Yeah, it's an absolute coach killer, that, isn't it? You've been defending for 5-10 minutes, working really hard to get some possession back, and then first phase attack, you lose the ball, penalty, and Kirkford's, he's got the potential to kick this from 45 metres.
He certainly does. He's had a good day with the boot. He's got 3 from 3, and this would be his first penalty. It's certainly his first penalty attempt this afternoon. He's already got 10 penalties so far this season, so he's been racking up the points for Hawick, and he's got a chance to add another 3 to his tally for this afternoon. He's got good distance on that, and it's accurate, and it stretches Hawick's lead 24 points to 0. And Kirkford is kicking with a man with a lot of confidence at the moment, Nicky.
Yeah, really good strike there. He still had room for more there, didn't he? Could have probably kicked it from his own half.
playing really well. He's running the team really well from 15, kicking for territory, using the wind really well, and then kicking his goals. And he's had quite a few breaks on the outside as well, so had a really strong game so far.
And it's been a 10-point swing in the 10 minutes that Gregor Hunter's been off the field, as he returns, and his left-footed kick downfield is into the hands of Stuart Graham, who looks to burrow, but he's been met with a good tackle there from Ryan Stewart, the Currie hooker, who's been at Currie for the last few years now. Almost found himself in Musselburgh colours until Currie came calling. Patterson at the back of the ruck kicks it into the air and asks Jamie Forrest to come on, and he does well. He gathers it at pace over the halfway line, and Christie looking to get the ball away quickly. Hall throws the dummy. He looks to go on the inside of the Rennicks, which is no mean feat if you can do that, but he's been wrapped up well. But the Currie momentum keeps going as they've made a good 10 yards there. Back to Hunter. Hunter feeds Forbes. Forbes got Stewart. Stewart's got a 2-on-1 there, and it is opened up there for Cody McGovern, but the referee has brought that back, and there's a little bit of a disagreement on the field of play there, and Ryan Stewart, the Currie hooker, was at the centre of it. It looked like there was a chance there, but it just shows you what this means to these two teams. Emotions sometimes do boil over, and maybe they're doing it for just a little bit of warmth, Nicky.
Yeah, Gregor Hunter's just come back on the field from his sin binning, and Callum Rennick's made a late challenge there, a late tackle. It looks like he'll potentially get sin binned. I'm not sure if it's bad enough to be a red, but it looks like he's certainly going to get a yellow card. It was a really late tackle.
Discipline in these games is always key. Hawick have had 8 yellow cards so far this season, and Currie likewise, 8 yellow cards. The Currie captain, who's just listening in to what the referee is saying, has had the lion's share of them with 3, Rhys Davis, but it's not going to fall on a Currie side. Currie have now had 9, because Gregor Hunter, as you can add to that. Michael Todd is bringing a couple of players in. Christie, one of them, Sean Muir, and Callum Rennick, the other 2. Davis is in there as well, so Michael Todd is just having a conversation, and he's flashing the yellow card to Callum Rennick, and now he's having another little conversation. It's going to be a yellow card to Christie as well, and I always find it funny when a referee puts a yellow card back in his pocket just to issue it 10 seconds later. I didn't know if that was what they have to do, but both teams now down to 14 men, and you would imagine that the penalty is going to be reversed towards Hawick, but that's probably more catastrophic for Currie than for Hawick, because they've lost their 9.
Yeah, well, they had the penalty, and Callum Rennick was always going to get the yellow card for that, and then Gregor Christie's reacted by going and facing up to Callum Rennick. There's nothing he can do in this day and age anyways. It's a bit of handbags, and he's ended up getting a yellow card as well, so they've ended up on the wrong end of the decision.
And the kick has taken play down towards the Currie 22. And Gregor Christie, obviously the brother of Finlay Christie, the New Zealand scrum half, brought up in Peebles, which explains their high level of rugby aptitude. But it's now going to be a throw into the line out for Fraser Rennick, and he's going to hit Dalton Redpath at the front. Currie try and get their hands up to it, but not able to. Ewan Stewart was lifted at the front of the line out, and the cavalry does eventually arrive for Hawick, who are now looking to go against the grain. Kyle Brunton's in the pocket. He just weaves and twists his way out, and that looked like a high challenge there from Ingalls. And the referee not having a look at that. No assistant referees are flashing that either, but it did look like a solid challenge from Ingalls, maybe just riding on the threshold. Kyle Brunton still on the ground, obviously feeling the full force of the towering second row. Back in the starting lineup this week as Andrew Mitchell now gets the ball in no man's land, and if this comes off, Ronan McKean's got his skates on, it's in the goal area, he gets down, and it's an opportunistic try for Andrew Mitchell. But not for Andrew Mitchell, it's for Ronan McKean, but Andrew Mitchell was the orchestrator of that. He had his arms out there. I think he was as surprised as anybody that pulled off, but it was textbook from the inside centre, kicked it into the space. Ronan McKean scampered onto it, got the ball down, and that's the bonus point try, and it's been a good first half for Hawick.
Yeah, it's not a skill you normally associate Andrew Mitchell with, putting the kicks through on the edge there. He's normally more of a ball carrier, but I think he's been crying out for that space on the edge all of this half. A few times he's carried the ball in that space, and he's obviously identified that, and he's seen it early, and he's put an absolute brilliant kick in there. Rory McKean has just run past Gregor Hunter, who looked like he was standing still, and Rory McKean showed his pace, and he's got onto the end of it just before the dead ball line. What a try, and a bonus point before half time. So 29-0, and as we talked about, has this game got away from Currie? They've just not really got going, hung on. So, you know, into the second half, and you know, they'll have the win behind, but it's a big margin to try and pull back.
Ford from the touchline. There's a couple of screams early on, and that's another excellent kick straight from the far side of the pitch. As acute as you'll like here at Mansfield Park, and he adds the extras again, keeps his 100% record intact. 4 conversions, 1 penalty. A good tally for the fullback this afternoon, and 31 points to 0 is the score. We played 35 minutes here at Mansfield Park, and just with that try, a couple of phases before, Ronan McKean was shouting for the ball to be spilled over to his side, and it eventually did come, perhaps not the way that he expected it to, as Hawick clear their lines from the line out here, and they take play in towards the Currie half. The referee Michael Todd is going to just have a little conversation. I think there's going to be some changes as Ryan Daly is going to come on to the pitch, so a little reshuffle. Jamie Forbes is going to be withdrawn, so some changes in the Currie team at the moment. A little limp off for Jamie Forbes, an important player for Currie, obviously a very experienced player. But Currie thrown at the line out, they hit the tail, it just went through the mitts of Currie as Fraser Rennick now puts boot to ball, and is Hector Patterson going to get onto this? No, it just goes out as the scrum half was looking onto it, but it's Hawick are pulling all the tricks out the bag now. The hooker's now grubber kicking through for the scrum halves to chase, and the pressure just does not relent for Currie at the moment.
Yeah, I can see Mark Cairns and Ali Donaldson on the sidelines there speaking and looking at each other at the moment, and it just looks like the Currie players just feel sorry for themselves a little bit. There's a few guys limping about, walking about, just don't know what's hit them this afternoon, and they're really going to have to back up their ideas if, you know, they're going to get back in this game.
The throw into the line out, it's went loose again. It's not came back on a Hawick side, but almost did. But Currie managed to sweep the ball up at the base, and it looks like there's been a try. The ball was over the try line, and I think that perhaps is Stuart Graham who's pounced on that. The ball was loose, it was there ready to play. Michael Todd was there as well, and Stuart Graham has just launched himself onto the ball, and he gets the 5th try, and it looked like it was Currie's to clear, and all of a sudden Hawick are going back towards their own half with the 5th try of this afternoon.
Yeah, well, Rhys Davis has landed on the ball, and he's went to place it back in his own dead ball, and it's a real understanding, a good understanding of the laws by Stuart Graham, where there's no offside line obviously over in the dead ball area, and he's just dived in the ball. You know, if it was infield, it'd be from an offside position, but you know, he's obviously knows the laws really well, dived in the ball, and he's scored. So, you know, another opportunist score, really good play by Stuart Graham, excellent. You know, and you know, just as I talked about with Currie, like, the reaction there is really poor. You know, they're just looking at each other, don't know what's hit them this afternoon, and I wouldn't like to be in the changing room at half time.
It's certainly an abject performance so far from Currie, as Kirk Ford again stretches the lead. It now takes Hawick's lead, and would you believe this, with a couple of minutes to play in the first half, it's Hawick 38, second placed Currie 0, and it's certainly very, very one-sided, but you would imagine this wind is not a 40-point swing, and Currie are going to kick off and take play back into the Hawick half, but they've seldom been there in the opening 40 minutes here at Mansfield Park. They've very rarely breached the Hawick 22. Hawick have almost defended that 15-metre line as if it's their try line, but Currie will be trying to get something from this first half to give them a glimmer of hope. Otherwise, it looks like it's going to be Hawick almost guaranteeing top position, as Hector Patterson spots some space in the backfield. It's going to bounce here. McGovern's going to have to work with this. He's griddled the ball. He's now on his own 5-metre line. He's got Dalton Redpath and Lewis Ferguson for company. The Currie players do manage to get round and secure this ball. Hawick almost rubbing salt into the wounds. They scored 46 points at Mullenny on the 15th of October, and they've already scored 38 points at Mansfield Park, so certainly being able to rack up the points against this porous and leaky Currie defence. And Gregor Hunter now barking orders with his forwards to secure this ball, give him a little bit of room to try and clear the lines. Currie are certainly on the ropes at the moment. They'll welcome the half-time whistle when it eventually does come. And Gregor Hunter clears his lines, but it's a penalty to Currie for the offside. As keen as you like to try and charge down that kick on Gregor Hunter, and it's a cheap penalty to give away, but you feel that, at the moment you can probably offer them a little bit of a lifeline with a penalty like that.
Yeah, just a little bit eager. Obviously, there's some really good play there. Well spotted space by Hector Patterson to, box kick it into that space, and a really good pressure by Dalton Redpath and Lewis Ferguson. But then just a little bit eager to put pressure on Gregor Hunter, who was, going to kick the ball into touch. But, they've still got possession here from 40 metres out.
We're entering the final stages of the first half here live at Mansfield Park. And if you haven't been tuning in so far, it's been very, very one-sided. It's Hawick 38, Currie 0. It's going to be a throw into the line out yet again for Currie and for Ryan Stewart. He's been a bit hit and miss from the line out, so disagreement inside that Currie line out and some complaints as it almost comes back on the Hawick side. Nicky Little now embracing his inner Messi and trying to dribble downfield, but it's been knocked on. I think he just rolled down his chest as he was looking to strike and attacking. It's going to be a scrum down. It's going to be a put into Currie.
Quickly go to the Hawk. We've got Earlston against Gallo IM in East League 3 today. Samia Matthews is there.
25 minutes in here at the Haw, and the visitors have made it a 12 points to 3 lead. There has been good defence from the home side though on the goal line, stopping Gallo IM on at least 3 attempts. Interesting scenes to come how the rest of this first half will play out. 25 minutes gone. Earlston 3, YM 12.
A tight game there at the Hawk. The two teams are neck and neck in the league as well, so bragging rights in the Borders. And nationally there's going to be bragging rights here, and it is Hawick who are holding all the cards at the moment. Adam Hall off the scrum, throwing an early dummy and just runs straight into Kyle Brunton over the 15 metre line. Almost stripped there as well by Stuart Graham, but manages to hold on to the ball very, very well. And now Currie going round the corner. A little bit disjointed in their approach to this game, you feel. There's absolutely nobody in the last 20 metres on the banking side for them as they get there now. They seem a little bit lost, a little bit unguided at the moment as Hunter puts a crossfield kick in, and Ferguson is there and he's managed to get it. He steps back in field and he's round Ryan Stewart, but the referee has brought that back for a late tackle, or that would have been the 6th try for Hawick. And if it hadn't been for that late challenge, that would have been a nailed on score, because he was certainly going round Ryan Stewart.
Yeah, I think Gregor knew that he was a kick to nothing. They'd already had the penalty in the phase earlier, so Gregor had kicked that ball, just a kick to nothing really. So they've got the penalty, and they'll kick to touch here, and I think he might be half time if he goes off the field.
Yeah, he's calling for the scrum, Gregor Hunter. So obviously they want to try and condense all the forwards and open up the pitch for the backs to strike upon, but there's been, in terms of their attacking play, there's been very rare glimpses of any threat to Hawick.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting they've went for the scrum here. The line-out's been a real mess,
yeah.
And they've knocked the ball down Hawick a few times, and every time the ball's went on the floor, Hawick's been the first one on it. They're just the real hunger and desire to get on it. So, interesting that they've had to go for a scrum here on the halfway line where they actually could have kicked into the 22 and got the line out.
It doesn't do anything for your confidence if it's been called that we're going to have a scrum to try and get some secure ball, but they do just that. Now Hunter tried to take the ball to the line. It does end up in the hands of Daly. Eventually works its way to James McCaig. He's been wrapped up pretty well on that far side. His play is over the 15 metre line. Now another penalty coming, and Hawick will be disappointed with that, and it's an offside decision again. Hawick potentially, they could almost give them a couple of metres in the, and trust their defence, but they've given away a couple of cheap penalties to sneak closer and closer towards that line, and this is going to be an interesting decision again.
Yeah, an interesting one. Do they go scrum or do they kick to the corner? They have just took a scrum to avoid line out, but it looks like Gregor's got to kick to the corner and try and back the forwards to drive it over.
Yeah, I think somebody's moved the corner because it's not as close as he perhaps would have wanted, but you kind of have to, in that position, you have to go and try and trust your line out and give them that faith to try and build the pressure and build the momentum.
Yeah, I think Gregor's obviously a little bit rusty. Normally he would kick that ball at least 10 metres before the Hawick try line, but on the 22 there, it's a totally different picture now, isn't it?
Currie line out again, not going to plan. It's been flat back by Hawick, and now Brunton is just going to lump it up to Screwfix up in Burnfoot, and it's at half time, and it's Hawick 38, Currie 0. and it's an excellent first half performance. In terms of accuracy, it was a disjointed first 5 minutes, you could say, but in terms of accuracy and in performance levels and intensity, it's got the hallmarks of a championship winning side right there.
Yeah, I think the whole Hawick coaching team have to be delighted to the team going in there at half time. It's going to be an interesting half time for Ali Donaldson and Mark Cairns in that changing room. I think the paint might be getting stripped off the walls, but it'll be interesting then again to see what sort of Currie team come out in the second half, because that's a big margin to try and fight back in the second half. And where do you think, this is a question I was going to try and ask you at some point during the game, and now's as good a time as any, where are Hawick's weaknesses? Well, they've looked vulnerable when Currie have actually moved the ball and we've got a bit of momentum and they've got in behind them. But in terms of then maybe putting a bit of pressure on keeping the ball, so then Hawick's discipline goes a little bit, because they have shown a little bit of lack of discipline at times. But in terms of their work ethic, their pressure they're putting on at the breakdown, how quick they're getting in transition to attack and turnover, they look really strong, and I don't see Currie coming back and getting anywhere near Hawick today so far. No, Currie are going to have a monumental effort to get back into this, to go back to millennia with any sort of points in the league. But as it is at half time, it's tries from Ferguson, Mitchell, Riley, McKean and Graham, and a penalty from Ford as well, all converted. But as it stands at half time here at Mansfield Park, it's Hawick 38, Currie 0.
Borders Rugby TV's charity partner, Evie's Baton Journey, is having a ball on March the 25th at Springwood Park, Kelso. Tickets and sponsorship details are now available at the official Facebook page, which you can visit from the Borders Rugby TV homepage. Evie's having a ball, March 25th, Springwood Park, Kelso.
To commemorate the 7th anniversary of the opening of the Borders Railway, an 8 DVD box set is now available, featuring the complete series Borders Railway from start to finish, plus the full hour-and-a-half documentary 5 Years On, which examines the possibility of an extension to Carlisle, plus extra features including a cab journey along the entire Borders Railway, all for the special price of just £14.99, including post and packing. You can get your copy direct from hotdisc.co.uk/shop. That's hotdisc.co.uk/shop. The 8 DVD box set, the complete Borders Railway, is available now.
Hi, Nikki Walker here, Curriculum Manager for Borders College Sport. Are you passionate about sport? If so, then look out for the return of our Borders College rugby, football and hockey courses in early 2023.
Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
When the weather's dreich and a storm's a brewing, you need a strong, windproof, quality umbrella delivered with good old-fashioned customer service and at an affordable price. Up here in Umbrella Heaven, we say you tackle the ball, we'll tackle the weather. UmbrellaHeaven.com. Brave the storm.
This is Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio.
Yes, welcome back to Mansfield Park. It's a strong wind here, but is it a 38-point wind? That's going to be the big question. Hawick 38, Currie 0 at half-time. Let's have a look at the other Premiership scorelines we have for you at the moment. It's Edinburgh Accies 15, Glasgow Hawks 0, Musselburgh 3, Heriots Blues 0. Of course, Jed Forest and GHA kick off at 3 o'clock, and waiting for us there, in fact, for a preview is Andrew Fleming.
Yes, welcome to a rather blustery Riverside Park for round 15 of this season's Tennis Premiership, where Jed Forest welcome GHA. The hosts have really distanced themselves from any threat of relegation after 2 successive bonus point victories on the road at Glasgow Hawks and Heriots. They'll be looking to register their 6th win of the season today with home advantage. With 4 games left, visitors GHA are lurking dangerously near the foot of the table with just 9 points separating the bottom 3 clubs, so they'll no doubt come out all guns blazing. Head coach Andrew Brown makes 2 enforced changes to his starting 15 from last week's win, with Ben McNeil coming into the blind side for Gary Young, who moves into the second row for the unavailable Dan Wardrop. In the backs, Owen Cranston comes in at 12 in place of the injured Robbie Urston, and on the bench, Elliot Lauder and Harry Meadows come back into the squad, while there's also a welcome return from injury for the versatile Rory Marshall. It's Jed Forest versus GHA. Kick-off here is at 3 p.m.
Andrew Fleming up there at Riverside Park today. We can go to the Hawk. We've got in East League 3 local derby, Earlston against Galloway YM. Sam Matthews.
Half-time at the Haw, and the score is Earlston 3, YM 17. 3 tries to the visitors, all coming from the front row. 2 for the hooker Jake Maxwell and 1 for sub-prop Sam Craig. Dominance in the first half, I must admit, for the visitors. We'll see how the second half plays out here at the Haw. Half-time, Earlston 3, YM 17.
Some other latest scores we have for you. International 1, it's Aberdeen Grammar 0, Melrose 14, Biggar 10, Highland 0, and in National 2, Cartha Queen's Park 10, Dumfries 3 is a half-time scoreline. Falkirk 24, Berwick 3 is half-time. Berwick not really good at travelling in this season so far. Brilliant at home, but not so good on the road. It's 24-3 at Falkirk, but as you probably heard from Sam Matthews' report, there is a very strong win throughout the country today, and let's just assume, hopefully, that Falkirk have got the very strong wind in their favour in that one. Peebles 15, Preston Lodge 0 is a latest score. And into the East League, remember Langham unbeaten 9 out of 9 at the moment. They could wrap up things today in terms of promotion. It's currently Corstorphine 13, Langham 7. Bit of work to do for Langham at the moment, and as we've just heard from Sam Matthews, Earlston 3, Galloway YM 17 at half time. Now coming up, of course, at 3 o'clock, quite a few matches kicking off in the Premiership. Jed Forest against GHA, and also Selkirk against Marr, and hopefully waiting us at Philippock at the moment for a little preview is Robin Purdie.
Yeah, it's starting to fill up. There's a lunch on today, so we're expecting a big and fairly vociferous crowd as the two teams have actually just, or certainly Marr, have disappeared down the tunnel. Selkirk's just putting the finishing touches to their warm-up, and Selkirk missing 2 or 3 frontliners this afternoon, unfortunately. James Head, Zen Svadrak, Andrew McComb and Ross Nixon are all missing, along with the likes of long-term absentee Andrew Grant Sutty, whereas Marr look reasonably well stacked today, you have to say. The Bickerstaff brothers form the centre partnership. Gordy Reid, ex-Scotland prop, is in there on the loose head. Colin Sturgeon's a points machine at 10. And they have Archie Smeaton making his debut today. He's a Glasgow Academy player that they've drafted in. So, yeah, Selkirk, if Selkirk win today, it'll be a good win.
Certainly will. We'll be coming up for you for second half commentary, and of course you'll be keeping us informed throughout the course of the next 40 minutes. But I can tell you, not really surprising this, but Currie are actually back on the pitch. I don't think they wanted to stay 1 minute more in that dressing room, not with the scoreline Hawick 38, Currie 0, but Currie back out on the pitch at the moment. I don't know what Ali Donaldson and Mark Cairns had to say to the boys, but certainly they're keen to get back onto the pitch. So don't forget, Currie this time have that very strong wind behind them. But Dale Clancy, is it a 38-point wind?
No, it's not. I'm quite happy to put my neck on the line for that prediction. It's not. It's, you know, even watching them come out the tunnel there, I just think that they were, you know, they came out in 2 sections, or some backs and forwards came out, and they just look a little bit dejected and a bit distracted this afternoon, and perhaps a little bit shell shocked by the performance of Hawick. And you know, Hawick, you know, they just have everything. They've got this game managed, even to the point as when it's going to get back underway, Nicky.
Hawick just looked a bit like they've got a lot more desire and a lot more fight. I mean, you just look at Currie at the moment, they've come out 3, 4, 5 minutes early. Hawick aren't on the field yet. They're all in 2s and 3s, not together, and that actually shows the way they played in the first half.
Yeah, so from your coaching point of view, obviously a successful coach in your own right at Watsonians with a successful season in the Super 6. You know, what would you be telling this team if they were under your guidance?
I think they need to get some territory, don't they? They've played a lot of the game in their own half and made a lot of mistakes, and Hawick have lived off that. You know, put a little bit of pride back in the jersey as well. I think, you know, it's a bit of a cliche, it's 0-0, but let's start the game again and let's try and get back into the game, get a bit of momentum. And you don't know, you know, you get in the last 20 minutes and you're 15-20 points behind, you know, they might steal it, but you know, it's hard to see at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, we were at a game last week where there was a 13-point swing, I believe, and it looked like it was the home side's game to lose, and they did certainly do that, because they let Ayr back into it, who managed to just pip Melrose by a point in what was a pivotal game in National 1. And certainly the important games in that league continue to keep coming as well, and we'll keep you updated with all the scores in from across the borders and also Scotland this afternoon as Sean Muir eventually emerges from the sheds with his team behind him, and that's perhaps a little bit more of an illustration as to what I would expect a team coming out in the second half with a little bit more fight. Hawick have come out as a unit and come out certainly pretty organised and focused for the second half.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Hawick play in this second half. You go in 38-0 at half time. Can they keep that momentum? Can they still have that hunger and desire to score more in the second half? And then also, Hawick characteristically play a territory game, kicking to the corners, kicking for field position. It's got to be difficult for them to do that into this win. So, they might be challenged to play a little bit differently in this second half, and see how that goes.
Gregor Hunter gets play underway, and Kirk Ford has returned the ball back downfield with a good kick into what is a very strong wind now. It's going from the clubhouse end down to the force pitch, and it is, when the assistant referee has popped his flag in there, you can just see the sheer power and velocity of the wind which is going across the park here, and Hawick are staring it straight in the face. That's a good exit kick there from Kirk Ford to make some good distance in what is challenging kicking conditions. And sometimes teams can somewhat be a bit unnerved by playing with a wind at their back, perhaps changing their application of the game. But Currie, from that line out, secure it this time, and Ryan Stewart is the player carrying it forward, who had an up and down first half. He carried well and worked with a lot of endeavour, but his set piece was misfiring. And now Currie into the toes of Gregor Hunter, who spots a space over on the bank inside. He looks to go it alone, offloads to Ryan Stewart. Looks to try and go over the top of Stuart Graham, not able to. The ball is recycled now into the hands of Cairn Ramsey. He played 13 games, 4 tries so far this season for the prop, and there's only 2 players in this squad for each team who have not scored yet this campaign, and one of them has already managed to get their name on the score sheet, and Ethan Riley in the first half for Hawick. And it's Gregor Hunter now spilling the ball to the far side to Ryan Daly. And Currie's attack grounds to a halt, and the referee is going to bring that back for a penalty. And it's something we did see at the tail end of the first half, Nikki, was a little bit of ill-discipline or awareness of where perhaps Hawick were in the game and giving away cheap penalties.
Yeah, Hawick, there's a real eagerness to get off the line for Hawick, and they've been cut offside a couple of times like they were there. And you can actually see that in Hawick's line speed. There's no real impetus or no gain line from Currie in their attack. They're moving the ball about, but it's like from side to side, and they're not getting any go forward. So just a little bit of impatience there from Hawick. They can get off the line and put that pressure on, but I think they can just give the offside line half a metre and still put enough pressure on to make sure that Currie don't make the gain line.
It's going to be a return to the field of play for Callum Rennick after 10 minutes in the sin bin, but Paddy Boyer is going to replace the previously sin binned Gregor Christie at scrum half. So the ex-Glasgow Hawks and Scotland Club international scrum half is going to try and ignite this Currie team, and it is big Cairn Ramsey who was hurtling his way towards the Hawick line, but defensively again Ethan Riley is there, but he's knocked on unfortunately as he looked to try and grab that ball and launch a counter-attack. He did spill forward from Currie, but defensively Hawick are looking very, very strong, which is illustrated obviously by the fact they've not conceded any points yet in the first 45 minutes that we've had in this fixture.
There's a really good line and carry from Cairn Ramsey into the seam there at the back of the line out, and but then just the next phase the ball was dropped, and unfortunately for Ethan Riley it sort of rolled into him and he ended up knocking it on. But as you say, the Hawick defence looks strong, but Currie certainly are trying to get a little bit more direction in their attack.
And it's going to be tested here because it's a centre field scrum, and both scrums cancelling each other out. Paddy Boyer is loitering at the back of that. He's having to now dig about to get the ball back, and Hunter now taking the ball to the line. He's just passed it out the back to McGovern. He finds McCaig, who's just found the right shoulder of Ronan McKean. The referee does give a shrill of the whistle, and I think that's for Ronan McKean perhaps not rolling away, and it's a chance to stab it into the corner. Currie to hit their target and try and get off the mark here in this game, because it's currently Hawick 38, Currie 0. They played 5 minutes of the second half. It's going to be Ryan Stewart to come across to this line out. He's just waiting the instructions from Jamie Drummond as well, coming across and just whispering in the hooker's ears and outlining exactly what their repertoire is going to be. Hawick were in a similar position in the first half but couldn't make it stick, but Davis has been launched highest, the captain. He's now got some Hawick arms round him as Ryan Stewart is at the back of that driving maul. It looks like it's going forward and the big hooker's going to get over the line, and Currie are off the mark. Excellent execution from Currie from the line out. Ill-discipline starting to play its part for Hawick, and Currie eventually do get their score.
Yeah, I think just 2 penalties there, and Currie get into Hawick's 22 and get that driving line out and got it going. It was probably one of the first line-outs they've won this March, so they've obviously made some changes at half-time, tactically and personnel as well in that pack, and they won that line-out and got their driving maul going, so some good play there from Currie, but some ill-discipline from Hawick that give them that opportunity.
Ryan Stewart did score in the previous game at Millennium. It finished Currie 25, Hawick 46. There's been a few rejigs and changes in both squads, and probably to the benefit of the strength and depth of Hawick's. But the hooker for Currie gets over the try line, and he manages to get his 5th try of the season, which is an impressive return for a hooker as Hunter adds the extras and curls it in between the sticks, and he's going to be important in the second half, Nicky.
He is, yeah. I thought he would be more important in the first half as well, but in terms of his kicking game, he's an experienced player. He's good at getting territory for the team. He knows the game well, and if Currie are going to get themselves back in this game, then he's going to be instrumental in that.
Hawick to get play back underway, and it's Kirkford right-footed kick downfield into the hands of Davis, who retrieved the line out from the set piece initially, and he's been bundled and escorted into touch, but does really well to get the ball back into the playing area. Ryan Stewart tried to grab the ball, but he's spilt it, and it's somehow been dislodged, and Sean Muir now on the 15 metre line, 15 metres in from touch, has been dispossessed up towards the 15 metre line. It's been punted downfield with the wind at their back. Gregor Hunter sniffed an opportunity to try and turn the Hawick players, and Kirkford angles the ball so low and acutely into the wind and gets play up towards the halfway line. That's another great clearance kick from the fullback.
Yeah, clever kick, isn't it? Keeping it low trajectory, and getting up to the halfway line from your 22 there is into that wind's a really good kick. Still seen a lot of mistakes in the collision, haven't we? So there's a bit of bite in the collision. Everybody's trying to put some big tackles in, but there's been a lot of errors and a lot of balls going to the ground.
There's been a bit of bite in that wind as well, because it's absolutely freezing at the back of the stand, and you can perhaps forgive some of these players if their mitts are getting a little bit cold out there, but that line out certainly didn't look straight, and that's when it starts eating into your head as a hooker. You're maybe not having the most successful day at the line out, and you try and steal a little bit too much, and it's another coughed up opportunity there, and Hawick are going to get the put into the scrum on the halfway line.
Let's quickly go to Philip Hall. There's been a score.
Yes, there has indeed. First blood to Selkirk. First minute try. The game was only a few seconds old. Josh Welsh, the try scorer, after a lovely break by Ryan Cottrell. Conversion has been missed, so it's Selkirk 5, Marr 0.
It's a good start for Selkirk at Philip Hawke. Obviously, they themselves are trying to consolidate 4th position or 3rd in the Premiership and make sure that they're in the mix for the playoffs. And there's a potential that we could be staring down and looking at a Hawick versus Selkirk semi-final here at Mansfield Park when the playoffs get underway, because it looks like Hawick are going to finish top of the pile in the league, because they have just won the penalty from the scrum and flexing their muscles in the tight areas in the set piece, and it allows them to kick downfield and try and reply and react, because you can get quite comfortable when you've got a lead like this, but you still need to be professional and do your job.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's been the biggest difference between Hawick and Currie, is the desire and the want. They've been the first to get on those balls on the floor and things like that. So I think that'll be a big thing for Hawick in the second half, is to just try and keep that going. And not settle for the score as it is at the moment, and just try and build on it and build a bigger score.
Blob on the 22. It's going to be a throw into the line out for Hawick, and they chuck it to the tail, and it's Sutherland who is being launched highest, and now Callum Rennick has been shot out of a cannon as he hurtles towards the Currie line. Now out the back, it's now Andrew Mitchell who's having to gather that at an angle which is quite unfavourable towards him, but he does well to find his feet, bounce himself forward, and take him closer towards that Currie 5 metre line. Now Sean Muir gets round the corner, 5 metres from touch and 5 metres also from the Currie line. Hector Patterson gets the ball back. It's out in the hands of Daniel Sudden, who's charging towards the line. He'd love to get a try in green colours. And now Nicky Little. Hawick putting a little width on their play around the fringes, and it's been spilled across to Mitchell again. He looks to go back in field and he rides 2 challenges, but they eventually do take him down. Patterson looking to try and keep the pace on this move, and Dalton Redpath is going to scamper in. He just slides the tackle. He just brushes off the wanton challenge there from Currie and dives in for a score, and that's a great reaction for a team who have just conceded.
Yeah, really clinical and accurate off that line out. Callum Rennick with initial carry, carrying 2-3 Currie defenders, then creating space, and the ball goes out Andrew Mitchell, and he's had 2 carries in that phase of play there that create the score, and each time he carries the ball, again 2 or 3 defenders to take him down, which means there's space elsewhere. And then Dalton Redpath working really hard, as he has the whole game, worked round the corner into the sort of 10 metre channel down the right hand side, and just one-on-one, that strong run past the defender and in the corner, really good score.
It's going to be a challenging kick for Kirkford to keep his 100% record, and with a back row of the likes of Stuart Graham, Callum Rennick and Connor Sutherland, it's about to get a little bit stronger with ex-age grade captain Rhys Tate coming off the bench. We're number 18. He's played once for Hawick so far this season, as Kirkford looks to try and add the extras, and it is smacked off the upright. He certainly had the angle, but just not able to get it over the crossbar. And Rhys Tate has been announced by the stadium announcer is coming on, and also it's going to be the introduction of Ross Graham. And it's it's relentless, because when you've got those sort of players coming off the bench, it's scary as the opposition, because they're 2 top quality operators.
Yeah, it's like for like, really, isn't it? Because Fraser Rennick and Connor Sutherland, who are both coming off, have been top performers today. Have played 50 minutes and been really influential in the performance. And you're bringing guys like Ross Graham, Rhys Tate, who are Super 6 standard players, and they're only going to add something with fresh legs, aren't they?
And Jacob Ramsey has also come on for Currie. We're in number 17. A little change in the front row for the visitors. He's got a sizable task as well, because they were just obliterated in the scrum in the lead up to the penalty that they nudged into the corner. Now Currie looking to try and play quick from inside their own half. Michael Todd is bringing that back, but the player is going to be brought back towards the Hawick, the 22, a throw into the line out for Currie, and it'll be interesting to see how Hawick's momentum continues in this game. The introduction of the likes of Rhys Tate, and it's an interesting introduction in itself, with Super 6 about to get underway, about the times when the playoffs are going to be going. It's going to be interesting to see what players do line up in that competition. But Currie from the line out find Hunter eventually. It's now into the hands of Canny. Canny looking to get the ball through the hands. He finds McGovern, and McGovern's been wrapped up there by Mitchell pretty easily, as well, as he's taken for a little carry a couple of metres before he goes to ground. And now Ewan Stewart charging forward and bouncing and dropping that right shoulder to try and make some momentum. Gregor Hunter just not able to gather that. But it's going to be a penalty. And Paddy Boyer looking to go quick for Currie, but not able to, as Michael Todd just signals that they're not releasing the tackler on the ground. And it's going to be another chance for Currie to knock it into the corner. 43 points to 7. And we've played 55 minutes here at Mansfield Park. And Currie have got a chance to get a score, but you would say that they're playing for pride now, Nicky.
Yeah, I think so. You'd be interested to see if Hawick's tactics change. They're giving a lot of penalties away on the floor, competing for the jackal. And they're not getting any rewards from the referee. So it'd be interesting to see if they just maybe start sitting off it a little bit and try and get some more line speed rather than actually going for the ball on the floor. But messed up line out again by Currie, overthrow. And guess who's on the ball? Callum Rennick.
Yes, Callum Rennick loitering at the back of that line out, just gets the loose ball. It's now a chance for Kyle Brunton to kick downfield, and he tries to spiral into the wind, centre field as well, so he's got a longer distance to try and go to get across that touchline, but he does. It just breaches the 22. So Hawick will leave the pressure, if not slightly, and it's going to be another throw into the line out for Currie. They've had a huge amount of lineouts in this game. There's been I feel it's been one of those days where constantly Currie have been thrown into line out, but Not much pizzazz in that line out, but it does come back on a Currie side. Paddy Boyer trying to get a bit of width on this play now. Ewan Stewart, the second row, takes the ball forward now. Boyer finds Hunter. Hunter has got Canny on the shoulder, who offers himself up on a nice acute line. He does get the ball in a congested area. Now Davis charging forward. The replacement, Chris Anderson, with his first real foray into the heart of the Hawick defence, and Boyer looking to try and keep the tempo in this game. A slight different change of tact from earlier on when Gregor Christie was on the park for Currie. Paddy Boyer, a very experienced scrum half, now digging about in the back there as Hall finds the ball, and he bounces off his right foot back in field, but he's been met with some solid Hawick defence yet again, and as has Gregor Hunter, and the ball's been dislodged. I think he tried to perhaps offload that, but it came to the captain, Davis. He goes on a mazy run behind the breakdown to find some space, and Ryan Stewart is in there as well, and he's been absolutely clattered by the replacement, Rhys Tate there, and Currie having to throw the ball, try and find some gaps in this defence, but they are not coming, and that was a huge hit from Rhys Tate, but eventually it forces the opposition to try and throw the ball about and find something out of nothing.
Yeah, some really good defence there from Hawick again. They said good line speed. They didn't put as much pressure on the breakdown. You can see they're actually not competing as hard. And it just looks like Currie, they're a bit shell shocked, aren't they? I think on average they've scored 36 points. Every in a game. And they've only scored 7 so far. And they're keeping the ball, but they just can't make any inroads into this defence.
From the line out, it's secure again under some pressure from Currie. But Hawick do manage to get it back on their side as Patterson has got Ford in the pocket, and he lobs the ball back to him. He's got some pressure as well, but he does clear downfield. The assistant referee just watching that go out, and he's made some good distance yet again into what is a biting and challenging wind over on that banking side. And Hawick managed to relieve the pressure. And it's going to be a thrown to the line out for Currie, and we can get an update on some of the scores.
Yes, it's Embrackies 18, Glasgow Hawks 7, Jed Forest 0, GHA 3, Musselburgh 3, Heriots Blues 3. Heriots down to 14 men, a red card shown there, and Selkirk 8 now, Marr 0.
Currie with an unorthodox line out. It looked like it perhaps hadn't went straight, but it was a charge and run round the corner from Jacob Ramsey, who's run into a dark alley. It's been a dark alley which has been populated by men in green jerseys, as they manage to isolate him, get over the ball, win the penalty, and Kirkford can kick downfield. And you feel that perhaps in the second half when they emerged, Hawick perhaps took their foot off the gas ever so slightly, but now they look like they're firing, but Kirkford not able to make touch. And it's now Currie who are looking to try and attack for deep, but Hector Patterson, the recruit from Jed, has managed just to get round the ankles of McGovern, and that's something you have to do, because if he gets a sniff of any opportunity, he knows his way to the try line, and Hunter kicks downfield. He's been passed back into the 22, so this is going to have to stay in field, which it does. Kirkford now anchoring his run towards centre field, finds Brunton. Brunton's got Hall there. I don't think he's seen him coming, but Hall just threw himself in front of that ball. Now Ryan Stewart is chasing this for Currie. Kirkford looking to go round the hooker. He's quite a pacey hooker actually, Ryan Stewart. He can certainly get the knees up when he wants it, and he manages just to hound Kirkford. But the ball's come back on the Hawick side, and they are now looking to try and settle some nerves and get back into a rhythm, because it was an opportunity there for Hall, and I don't think Brunton did see him. It's the ball in his hands now. Hall's not there, and he manages to kick it out just over the 22.
Yeah, it's just sort of one of those loose decisions. It's easy to do, when you get so far ahead, you can just, get a little bit complacent. And, he just got charged down there, Kyle Brunton did, and, just puts a little bit of pressure on Hawick at the moment, in their own 22. But Hawick have looked comfortable defending set pieces so far, so, you can see Currie, they're actually having a committee meeting there to see what they're going to do at this line-out, because they're under so much pressure.
Okay, let's bring you up to date in the Premiership. Jed Forest have just scored a try. Jed Forest 5, GHA 3 there. International 1. Talk about game of two halves. Melrose were 14-0 up, they're now 17-14 down. It's Bigger 10, Highland 7, GHK 10, Gala 5.
And it's Hawick 43, Currie 7, and it's Hawick now getting the ball back on their side. It was a throw into the line out for Currie, but they've managed to get it back on their 22. Hector Patterson stamped down to try and get the ball back on a Hawick side, and I think the referee has spotted that there was perhaps a little faux pas from the young scrum half. He did it right in front of the eyes of Michael Todd. We benefit from the fact that we've got a screen just in front of him, and Hawick have been marched back 10 for a bit of back chat. Paddy Boyer is just waiting with bated breath to try and take this quickly, but that's that's something that Matty Douglas will definitely not be pleased about. We're restating, they're having a conversation with Michael Todd as well. It's going to be an interesting decision. Paddy Boyer is asking for the scrum, I believe. The forwards are arriving, and it's probably the right call there to get the scrum and try and congest that area.
Yeah, since Paddy Boyer's come on, he's done everything he can to avoid lineouts. He's been trying to catch balls on the sideline and take quick throw-ins, try to take quick taps and penalties rather than kick to touch. And then he's obviously, directed the referee and says he would like to take the scrum rather than kicking to touch from, 7 metres out.
He's perhaps spotted that when Currie do get in behind Hawick, they're causing them some trouble. It's just seldom happened, and he's looking to up the ante. A player who's obviously represented Scotland Club International. He played 12 times for Currie before this game. 2 tries. Made 30 appearances in total for Currie, but the penalty is going to go the way of the visitors from the scrum. The referee just judging that has been pulled down. I don't know who the prop is. It's been adjudged to have pulled that down, but the referee is going to give Currie the chance to make a decision again. They're going to go for the scrum. Look to have another shot at this. It's the likes of Jacob Ramsey and Chris Anderson for Currie are the replacements in the front row. We've got Ross Graham. The replacement hooker for Hawick is an area that's certainly got a lot of strength and depth in. But Paddy Boyer just loiters over this scrum, ready to put the ball into the tunnel and get it back on a Currie side. Hawick will be wanting to put a little bit of pressure on, and it does come. Davis is having to paw at that ball to get it back, and Hunter takes the ball up to the line. It's a cut there from Canny, but he can't get much inroads. And now Jamie Drummond making his second appearance for Currie, just does manage to steal a couple of yards. The replacement, Chris Anderson, finding himself wide from the breakdown, looking to try and stretch this Hawick defence and find some gaps in it, because it's been difficult to try and dislodge in open field play, and it's proven exactly the same in this passage of play, because Callum Rennick was over that ball there. Rhys Davis looks to try and dart his way over that line, but not able to, just not enough room to manoeuvre. The loose ball does come back into the hands of Currie. They're now a couple of metres away from the line, but Michael Todd, the referee, has just adjudged that to have been knocked on. And we're in a patch of this game for the last 15 minutes where it has been quite tetchy. The momentum for both sides has kind of dropped out of it. But Hawick will be happy with that, because it's wasting time in the clock, and they need to go through these rough patches as well to build the character and the experience to go on and try and mount a challenge for the Premiership title.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good defensive sets from Hawick. Currie would probably score against any other team. I think the stats prove that. And so Hawick are obviously defending really well, and I think the coaches will be really happy with the defence that they're showing. It's just trying to release some pressure and get out of their own 22 and get some possession, which they're having trouble with at the moment.
They've been pinned back inside their own 22 by Currie, and also this challenging wind which is staring straight into the Hawick's players' faces. The scrum is solid. Patterson is gesturing as if he wants to take it, but it's going to be Rhys Tate to take the ball forward. The replacement back row, who's packing down at number 8 for the scrum, does take it forward, and Hawick don't make much in the way of inroads, but they're trying to create some room for Kirk Ford to clear downfield. And again, he makes such good ground into a challenging wind, pretty central as well in terms of the field, and he kicks it off and just takes a little bit of the pressure out of the game again.
Yeah, it's a good kick there to get to sort of 40 metres away, from his own try lines. A good kick. They use Kirk Ford really well, don't they? He steps up at first receiver a lot, even though he's playing at 15, and he almost runs the game from 15 at times. It takes that pressure off Cal Brunton, whose strength's probably like playing a little bit more. He's a good passer.
Yeah.
And Kirk takes that responsibility and gets the team up the pitch.
Hawick have always had a a kind of conveyor belt of a good ball players like Sir Hutton and Rennick were similar in terms of the way that they approached the game over the last decade for Hawick, and almost been replaced now by Brunton and Ford, who have made a good partnership in guiding this Hawick team into positions in the park that they want to strike from. It was Brunton who just fed Callum Rennick there, who carries the ball over the halfway line. Now Ferguson working off his wing, does find Ford looking to try and get his arms free to find Ronan McKean some space, but the referee Michael Todd has adjudged that Currie have sealed that ball off, and from where we stand, and that looks like the correct decision, because there was no chance for McKean and Ferguson to clear the players away for Currie.
Yeah, and this is the opportunity Hawick have been looking for sort of in the last 5-10 minutes, just to get into Currie's half and get some possession and take this thing out of the game a little bit.
Doesn't make as much yardage there, but Kirk Ford does kick the ball out. There's going to be a throw into the line out in front of the stand side, and Hawick will be looking to try and build some more momentum back in this game, and we can get an update from scores from around the country.
Yes, let's go to Riverside Park.
14 minutes gone here at Riverside, and Jed lead GHA by 5 points to 3. Visitors took an early lead through a Chris Hyde penalty, but the post hit back with an unconverted score from Mason Cullen in the right hand corner. Jed 5, GHA 3.
It's Kirstofen 19, Langham 12. Langham have got a try back. Remember, they're looking to be promoted today if they can at Kirstofen, and it's Earlston 10, Gala YM 17.
Gareth Welsh, the replacement scrum half for Hawick, comes on as Hawick are throwing the ball into the line out. It's just come off the shoulder, perhaps under a bit of pressure from Currie in the line out, and they look to get some width on this ball now, but the Hawick players sliding across in defence almost as if they were attached by a rope. And now Ford looking to find some space in the Currie defence. The Hawick attacking players were perhaps calling for a penalty there, as it did look like Logan Gordon-Woolley did take one to the face, but he was falling, and the assistant referee Michael Todd will probably have a conversation about this, but it was the first time we've really seen a sloppy line out from Hawick, and they're not able to get the ball back on their side and make the most of the territory they had.
Yeah, just a little bit of an underthrow by Ross Graham there, and Currie managed to put a bit of pressure and knock the ball down, and the kick for territory Currie did, and Kirkford fielded it well. It looked like a high shot on Logan Gordon, really still down on the ground, but the decision's been given to Currie for a knock on against Hawick.
Okay, I think we can go to Philip Hawke. It's Jed Forrest. It's not. It's Selkirk playing Marr.
And since we spoke last, Stuart, it's gone Selkirk 8, Marr 3. Couple of penalties. Craig Jackson with the first of them to take it to 8-0. Colin Sturgeon has replied for Marr, and Marr just starting to creep back into this game. Selkirk 8, Marr 3.
Thank you very much indeed to Robin Purdie. Don't forget second half commentary of that game coming up after we're finished here at Mansfield Park. Latest scores we have: Embrackie's 18, Glasgow Hawks 7, Jed Forest 5, GHA 3, Musselburgh 3, Heriots Blues 10. They're down to 14 men being red carded. Selkirk 8, Marr 3, as we've just heard. It's still Aberdeen in front against Melrose 17-14, Biggar 13, Highland 7. They've added a penalty, so it was 10-7 with that Hugo Crush try for Highland getting back when it was 10-0. It's now 13-7 to Biggar. GHK 10, Gala 5 as the latest score. There's been a red card in Watsonians against Ayr, so Watsonians down to 14 men. Still no score there in the 3 o'clock kickoff. In National 2, Cartha Queen's Park 10, Dumfries 3. Bit of a comeback from Berwick here. Falkirk 31, but Berwick have now scored a couple of tries to go with their earlier penalty. It's now 31-15 to Falkirk, and as we mentioned, this wind's been very strong today, and we will be seeing some second half comebacks throughout the country. Peebles 15, Preston Lodge 0 is the latest score, also in National 2. In East League 2, it's currently Kirstofen 19, Langham 12, and Earlston 10, Gala YM 17. You're missing none of the action at the moment. There's an injury out on the pitch, but Dale, just talking about that Kirstofen Langham match at the moment. Of course, if Langham don't win today, we're at Milntown next week for Langham, top of the table, against Hawick Lindeen, bottom of the table. So if they don't get the job done today, we might be there to see it next week.
Yeah, they'll be disappointed that their 100% record might go, but yeah, it gives them an opportunity to win it on home turf, and it would be great to be there. It would be great to see them lift that after what was a disappointing season last year when they just missed out on promotion, and building on what would have been a great celebration year for Langham. So it's tight in that game there, but they certainly do have another opportunity if they. We're down at Milltown next weekend, but certainly here Logan Gordon-Woolley has taken a throw, and it looked quite innocuous as he was trying to take the ball. He was falling, as he certainly looked like he was going to ground anyways. He looked to gather the ball, and a Currie hand just came in and hit him. But obviously that shows the strength and depth in this team, and it's something that, Nikki, that obviously over the last few years, there's obviously the last couple of decades, there's not been a lot of domestic success here, but there's been a lot of talented players still coming out of Hawick Rugby Club. What do you think is perhaps led to the fact that Hawick haven't tasted this domestic success in so long?
I think if you look around Scottish rugby, you'll find that there's Hawick players playing in a lot of teams. We found that with Melrose, Southern Knights. There's been guys playing in Edinburgh. And Hawick does notoriously lose players to other clubs. But they seem to have a really tight-knit squad here. Guys like Dalton Redpath, Fraser Rennick, Daniel Sudden, who have actually been away and come back. Ross Graham's another one, Nicky Little as well. So these sort of guys have went away, tasted rugby elsewhere, and then come back and they're going to finish their careers at Hawick. Talking about finishing their careers, some of those guys that I'm talking about are still in their 20s, so they've got a lot to give, but they've got so much experience that they've learned elsewhere. And that's complementing the young guys that are coming through, your likes of Callum Rennicks and Connor Sutherland's.
Okay, Watsonians 0, Ayr 12 all of a sudden after that red card. Gala have got a try back at GHK. It's GHK 10, Gala 10. It's now Jed Forest 10, GHA 6. They've got a second try there, and Melrose have retaken the lead. Aberdeen 17, Melrose 21.
And that's another important game for the Borders team, is Melrose game against Aberdeen after suffering a defeat against Ayr last weekend. They'll want to try and stay in the race and pounce on any opportunities that do arise in National 1, as Logan Gordon-Woolley is escorted down the tunnel on a stretcher, and we certainly wish him a full recovery. It certainly looked like he was engaging with the staff members who were helping take him off the field of play, so there's going to be a little reshuffle in the Hawick backs. And the scrum pressure, as players back underway, comes on, and Paddy Boyer tried to gather the ball, and it's went forward, a little shake of the head from Michael Todd, but the ball does eventually go off the field of play in the halfway line. It's been hacked downfield by Paddy Boyer, so it'll be a throw into the line out for Hawick. And that break, we've probably still got about another 12-13 minutes left in the game, so we still have some time, but what a message that would send if Hawick eventually they got another converted try, to put 50 points on their nearest rivals. You were in a championship winning team as well. Did you put 50 points on the team in second place at all?
No, it was Boroughmuir that year, and we had some tight games against them. They're a really good team, so but it'd be a real confidence booster, wouldn't it, to put 50 points on Currie, probably the team that's going to be closest to them this year, and you'd expect that they'll come across each other again in the playoffs at some point maybe, so they want to keep that momentum, and want to try and finish on a high and try and get to that 50.
Dalton Redpath hacking the ball downfield, but the advantage was already underway from Michael Todd from the knock on, and just looked like Connor Sutherland's going to come back onto the pitch, and also Tom Hope, the front row replacement. So Stuart Graham is going to be withdrawn along with Nicky Little as they chase each other off the field of play. Tom Hope's first job is going to be packing down at the scrum alongside Sean Muir and Ross Graham. And Sudden and Redpath still on there. Callum Rennick in the back row alongside Connor Sutherland, and then Rhys Tate at the rear of the scrum. And certainly that's still a formidable pack there for Hawick on the halfway line. 15 metres in from the banking side at Mansfield Park. They put into the scrum, goes the way of Currie. And it's Paddy Boyer now getting a clean ball away from the back as Hall comes up as first receiver. Now Hunter in behind. Now Ryan Daly trying to use his footwork to try and breach the defence, but Ethan Riley has just wrapped up his opposite man and taken him for a walk back towards his own half. Boyer finds his captain, who's really worked hard off the ball, Davis, for Currie. A lot of endeavour with not a lot of reward, which must be frustrating for the leader of this Chieftains team. And now Ford kicking downfield yet again and makes some good distance as the assistant referee takes play up towards the halfway line. And this perhaps is an opportunity for Hawick to learn a little bit more about how to deal with the conditions and the pressure and the opposition, because you would imagine the game as a contest is done.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's definitely challenging for them playing in these conditions. They've started to shuffle the park. They've put some new players on. Hector Patterson's now playing on the wing, so they're learning. On the run. New guys coming in, getting a run. Building that depth again. I agree.
Nice to see that sarcasm has not been left or lost on the Hawick spectators, because the sarcastic roar is because Paddy Boyer from the line out tried to gather the ball and knocked it forward. So it is going to be a put in to the scrum, and it's going to be a Hawick ball on the halfway line in the same position we left you with, and it'll be the same position that we'll pick up from after we hear from Stuart.
Couple of full times: Falkirk 31, Berwick 15 and Christopher 19, Langham 12. Just the 1 point for Langham, which means they need 1 point next week at home to Hoyt Lundeen to be crowned champions.
A disappointing result for Langham, but still the destiny is still in their own hands, and we'll be there next weekend, as they'll be hoping to try and wrap up the league, as Ethan Riley from the scrum manages just to get out the road of the first challenge and the second. He looked to offload to Mitchell on his shoulder and return the favour that was offered to him earlier on in the game when Mitchell offloaded to Riley and sent him in for his first score in Hawick colours. However, Mitchell was lurking in behind Paddy Boyer, who snatched the ball before it could get to the centre partnership. Patterson retrieving the ball well. Now Kirk Ford has spotted some space on the stand side as he scampers over. He now feeds the ball to Ronan McKean, who's looking to try and get the wheels turning and go over the top of Greg Canny, but he's done well to defend the towering winger. 8 tries so far this season for Ronan McKean, and Andrew Mitchell means they're the joint top try scorers for Hawick. And the flat ball to Ross Graham. He's done really well to ride that challenge again as he rolls out of the first contact and backwards takes momentum and play over the halfway line as Welsh slows play down, and Brunton spots a little space in behind and stabs a kick downfield. Perhaps not the cleanest of executions, but it's pinned Currie back as Hunter looks to return the favour and take play back towards the Hawick half, as Patterson is having to watch this and manages to grab it, and he's kicking downfield, and it sounds like it's come off with a lot of pace and power, and it's over the halfway line from an acute angle again, and Ronan McKean is on the ground looking for some treatment perhaps and some attention for a sore calf as he's nursing on the ground. But a good play, and again good game management for the likes of Brunton, just to sit in the pocket and try and manage proceedings.
Yeah, he's just trying to keep the forwards on the front foot, isn't he? Trying to get in that territory, which is difficult, obviously, with these conditions. The game's just lost a little bit of intensity, hasn't it, since that injury to Logan Gordon-Woolley? But the game's just slowed down, but still managing it pretty well. Game's getting played a lot in the middle of the field now. We just needed something to bring it back to life. 5 tries in the first half, only 2 in the second half, and that's 1 apiece. It was all Hawick in the first half, but Ronan McKean is now back on his feet. Stuart Graham is coming on as well as a replacement, I would imagine, to replace Ronan McKean. So I think that's a signal of the fact that there's no back replacements, because Welsh came on to replace Patterson, who's back on, and Logan Gordon-Woolley is off getting treatment. So Stuart Graham is going to have to harness his rugby ability, every last drop of it, to ensure that the defensive line and the continuity of play still maintains. But Hawick, as he take play over the 15 metre line, they're isolated, and it was Big Daniel Sudden who was isolated. The penalty goes away to Currie, and Boyer taking it quickly. McGovern tried to hack downfield, and then Greg Canny was on the loose ball. Almost opened up there for Hawick, and the pressure is coming on yet again as they counter ruck, and it is Welsh making a nuisance of himself at the breakdown, and Ewan Stewart now carrying forward up towards the 15 metre line as McGovern is having to act as a scrum half. Hall again putting in that dummy, and it's been read very well by Sudden and also Tate, who just put the shoulder into the centre, and the ball has now been ripped, and it's now in Hawick hands, and it's Daniel Sudden in open space there, looks to try and get the ball through his hands but not able to,
It looks like it's been ripped on a Currie side legally as well, as Michael Todd just signals that it's on a Currie side. Offload there, the game has got very scrappy, but it's gone loose now, and Kyle Brunton hacking downfield up towards the Currie 22. McGovern is back, as well as one of his teammates. I think that's Hall, that managed to get himself in a favourable position to get the ball back on a Currie side. But Hawick now managing to turn the tide slightly and pen Currie inside their own half. Boyer feeding a charging runner on the fringes of the ruck. Now Ingalls, the towering second row, who's earned a start after his performance in the victory last weekend for Currie. He came off the bench and put in a good performance, so has been rewarded with a start. It's perhaps something that he wished he hadn't had. As Ryan Stewart breaks downfield, he looked to try and offload to Ryan Daly and put him in the space, because he had a one-on-one opportunity with Hector Patterson, but not able to get the ball to hand, and Michael Todd is going to bring that back for a penalty. But yes, it's, we were saying before how the kind of intensity's come out the game, but it's got very, very scrappy.
Yeah, it got scrappy. A couple of really big hits from Hawick though. Rhys Tate's had some physicality since he's come on. Daniel Sudden put a couple of good hits in there as well. It's just forcing Currie into mistakes, and Hawick are, every time the ball goes on the ground, they're living off those scraps, and they're winning those 50-50s on the floor.
We can very quickly go to Robin at Philippoch. Well, I thought we could, but we can't. I can tell you then it's 8 points to 6 at the moment to Selkirk up there at Philippoch in the Premiership. Jed Forest 10, GHA 13 is the latest score. 32-7 to Embrackis against Glasgow Hawks, and it's Musselburgh 3, Heriots Blues 13 in the Premiership.
Currie taking play towards the Hawick 22, throwing the line out, accurate this time, and the bodies all congest that tightly contested area as they try and get the momentum in this maul going forward. Ryan Daly, who's been the only try scorer for Currie so far in this game, has got the ball in the heart of that maul. It's starting to splinter and disintegrate slightly, and Hawick will be looking to pounce on that, but not able to just now as it forms yet again. The momentum not quite out of this maul yet, but it's starting to go slightly as Michael Todd puts his left arm out to signal advantage to Currie for a Hawick player illegally joining the maul. He's going to come back on a Hawick side, referee on a Currie side, and Paddy Boyer goes quickly. He signalled the penalty. Hawick perhaps not back 10, but the referee letting play go. And a out the back door pass from Boyer does find Hunter. And then the big tower in second row, and Ingalls has been charged back from some, again, feverish Hawick defence. Brunton standing up, looking to try and make himself a little bit of a roadblock. And now Hunter, he's got Hall back inside to Daly. There's been a couple of players coming together there. And Gregor Hunter, and yet again, there's going to be a few players coming together and disagreeing with the challenge on Gregor Hunter. But the one thing does illustrate is how important Hawick think Gregor Hunter is to this Currie team.
Yeah, they put a lot of pressure on him, but I think every time Gregor Hunter gets touched, the Currie Park are, feeling like he should be playing touch, but everybody else is playing proper rugby. So, yeah, but if they're putting a lot of pressure on him, there's a lot of line speed. They understand how important he is. He is the threat, isn't he, in terms of distribution. And to be fair to Hawick today, because they put so much pressure on him, he's not actually performed to the levels that he normally does.
It's full time at the Hoch. It's Earlston against Gallow IM. Sam Matthews.
Full time at the Hoch, and it is an important victory for today's visitors, Gallow IM. They walk away with this victory and a bonus point with the final score: Earlston 10, YM 28. All tries from the forwards from pick and go after dominant play up front in the scrum and the line out. The situation remained the same for the full 80 minutes. A well earned victory, but stout and valiant in defence were Earlston today. Final score: Earlston 10, Gallow IM 28.
Melrose have got their bonus point. It's 28-17 at the moment at Aberdeen. Full time at Falkirk 31, Berwick 5, and full time, here's an interesting one, Lasswade 13, Newton Stewart 8. Newton Stewart in second place have lost today, and Peebles 15, Preston Lodge 0 is a full time result. Also full time result in East League 3, Hawick Quins 21, Lismore 0. They remain unbeaten in the league. And Christopher 19, Langham 12, as we heard earlier. A final score in East League 2.
Gregor Hunter has been withdrawn from the field of play. He looked like he was nursing a very sore right shoulder, and he's in conversation now with the coaching staff of Currie, but he's been removed, which means that Christie comes back on. And the pressure at the scrum is coming on from Hawick as they put Currie under a lot of pressure. It looks like it's going to come back on a Hawick side if they can get the bodies round there to protect the ball. But it is Boyer who gets it back. The loose pass going on that far side. It eventually does get into the hands of Daly. Can he weave his way over the try line? No, because the green wall is there. Now Boyer finds the captain, Rhys Davis. He's been well marshalled there by Ethan Riley, who's been an impressive figure for Hawick in defence. Ewan Stewart now trying to breach the defence up to the 5 metre line, and Paddy Boyer does just stab that ball through, and again a little bit of afters with Gregor Christie just squaring up to Andrew Mitchell. But the referee Michael Todd is going to have a little conversation with a few of the players perhaps, and Michael Todd is having a conversation with the captain Rhys Davis just underneath the post. But Currie do have the ball, and they've got a penalty here, and Michael Todd is going to have to try and keep a lid on things as we approach the full-time whistle here. We're a couple of minutes away after the injury to Logan Gordon-Woolley, so stay with us until we conclude this game. And we've got action from Philip Hawke coming up after it as well with Robin Purdie, as Selkirk are welcoming Marr. They were currently leading 8 points to 6, and it's a big game in Premiership action, and it's some solid defence again from Hawick. And Currie are just finding it so difficult to try and breach this Hawick defence. And we did say before the game, Hawick have conceded on an average 12.5 points a game. Currie closer to 22, and you can see why.
Yeah, I think the Hawick coaching team must be really proud of the way Hawick have defended. The last minutes of the game, they're 43-7 up, and they've still got that same desire to keep Currie out. And you can see Gregor Hunter's just trudged off the field there, looked like he was limping and his shoulder was sore. Jamie Forbes has went off injured earlier. I know there's players down at the moment getting treatment as well from Currie, so it's obviously been a really physical game, and Currie are feeling the effects of that.
They definitely are. They had to go to their bench quicker and rotate their squad and try and change personnel to get a more favourable result, but it's looking like it's going to be a less than fruitful visit to Mansfield Park. Hawick 43, Currie 7. There's been 50 points, and the lion's share of them have went the way of the home side. Hawick now trying to navigate their way out of their own danger area. It's back into the pocket to Kirk Ford. He's going towards the touchline, kicking downfield. He's just went straight into the hands of Christie. Christie's got some support there. He throws the dummy, but he's been scragged by Dalton Redpath, who manages just to get up, stand upright as well, and almost suffocate the replacement scrum half. Now Currie go round the corner again. Boyer, he's got some support there in the second row, and now it's come back to Patterson. He's got Gregor Christie over there for some company, who manages just to grab onto the tails of his jersey and twist him to ground, but Hawick still have the ball inside their own 22, perhaps just navigating their way away from their own try line. And Kirkford tries to kick downfield, and it does go outside the 22, and we've got perhaps the last couple of minutes left in this game, and it's been a very fruitful afternoon for one of these teams, and Hawick's unbeaten record in the Premiership is going to continue, as well as their grasp on the Bill McLaren Shield, and it does build confidence towards the playoffs. But every team knows when they start the season that they still have difficult games to actually be crowned Premiership champions.
Yeah, I think Hawick just need to keep this momentum going. They're unbeaten for the season, and that's going to be the big scalp for them, is like trying to keep that unbeaten run going. I think when you're unbeaten, you take a bit more pride in making sure that you keep that reputation, and that's going to be something that Hawick are going to be really focused on for the rest of the season, I would say.
Hawick have certainly got a target on their back. They'll open up a gap between themselves and the team in second place, which at the moment is Currie, and they'll have a nice handsome 9-point advantage to try and protect for the rest of the season, until we get to the point where it's playoffs and they've got home advantage, and it is the referee Michael Todd who blasts the full-time whistle, and it finishes here. Hawick 43, Currie 7. It was an impressive first half show, and it was almost a point a minute for the home side. They got tries from Lewis Ferguson, Andrew Mitchell, Ethan Riley, Ronan McKean, and then Stuart Graham got in the act for the forwards to try and give them some plaudits anyway, or some bragging rights in the forwards. And then in the second half, there was only 2 tries to share between them. Ryan Stewart getting the first one for Currie, and it was replied pretty quickly by Dalton Redpath. Most of the conversions were successful for Kirkford, only missing one and getting a penalty, so it's a good return for Hawick. It's 43 points to 7, and Hawick, in terms of the building their momentum towards the rest of the season, we just touched on it there, but you got to say on the balance of that performance, they go into the business end of the season as heavy favourites.
There must be after that performance. It's both sides of the ball as well that they're impressive. Their defence, the second half, really good to keep Currie out and only get 7 points, but with that win behind them. And then obviously in the first half, how clinical they were to score so many points in the first half. Some of the tries they scored as well were really impressive, and a real mix of tries as well from the forwards in terms of being really direct and grinding the way over the line, but then the execution of the backs when the space was created to score some nice intricate plays as well. So it's a real impressive rugby today.
An impressive showing from Hawick. It was a pretty long last half hour, as there was no score share between either team, but it was breathless in the first 50 minutes of this game at Mansfield Park. But it does finish the current league leaders unbeaten. Bill McLaren, shield holders as well, finish Hawick 43, Currie 7.
When the weather's dreich and a storm's a brewing, you need a strong, windproof, quality umbrella delivered with good old-fashioned customer service and at an affordable price. Up here in Umbrella Heaven, we say you tackle the ball, we'll tackle the weather. UmbrellaHeaven.com for when the heavens open.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Borders Rugby TV's charity partner Evie's Baton Journey is having a ball on March the 25th at Springwood Park, Kelso. Tickets and sponsorship details are now available on the official Facebook page, which you can visit from bordersrugby.net. Evie's having a ball. March the 25th, Springwood Park, Kelso.
To commemorate the 7th anniversary of the opening of the Borders Railway, an 8 DVD box set is now available, featuring the complete series Borders Railway from start to finish, plus the full hour-and-a-half documentary 5 Years On, which examines the possibility of an extension to Carlisle, plus extra features, including a cab journey along the entire Borders Railway, all for the special price of just £14.99, including post and packing. You can get your copy direct from hotdisc.co.uk/shop. That's hotdisc.co.uk/shop. The 8 DVD box set, the complete Borders Railway, is available now.
Hi, Nikki Walker here, Curriculum Manager for Borders College Sport. Are you passionate about sport? If so, then look out for the return of our Borders College rugby, football and hockey courses in early 2023.
Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
This is Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio.
Yes, it's Hawick 43, Currie 7, the final score here at Mansfield Park. Let's run over some of the other scorelines and the full times in the Premiership. Edinburgh Accies 32, Glasgow Hawks 7, Jed Forest 17, GHA 13. That's a half-time score, of course. That's a 3 o'clock kick-off there. We'll go to Philippoff very, very shortly to have a chat with Robin Purdie. I'd imagine it's half-time there now. Musselburgh 6, Heriots Blues 13. Heriots played most of the match with just 14 men with a red card, but they've got the 4 points there. Musselburgh will come away with 1, but that might not be enough with just 3 games to play. International 1, and after a shaky period of play there at Rubislaw, it's ended Aberdeen Grammar 17, Melrose 35 with a bonus point win for Melrose. Biggar 16, Highland 7 is a result. We're still waiting on news from Dundee against Stirling County, but half-time between GHK and Gala, it's GHK 17 there, Gala 10. Half-time at Poynter Park, Kelso 24, Stewart's Melville 0, and a bonus point in the bag there. And half-time at Marside, Watsonians 0, Ayr 12, Watsonians down to 14 men. They've had a man red-carded as well. Into National League 2, the latest score we have here, Boroughmuir 7, bottom of the table, Glasgow Accies 24. Not quite bottom, in fact second bottom, because Hamilton are bottom, but Glasgow Accies, latest score we have there, 24-7 to the league league leaders, and they'll be delighted because Newton Stewart, their nearest rivals, have lost today. Lastwade 13, Newton Stewart 8 is a final score. National 2. Cartha Queen's Park 17, Dumfries 18. Dumfries just nicking it at the death. Falkirk 31. Berwick 15 and Peebles 15, Preston Lodge 0 is a final score. Into East League 2, and it's Christopher 19, Langham 12, so Langham will have to put the champagne on ice for another week. We'll be at Milntown next week, of course, for Langham against Hawick YM. Final score, Earlston 10, Galloway YM 28, and also in East League 3, Hawick Quins 21, Lismore 0. Well, Sean Muir, victorious captain of Hawick, 43 points to 7, has managed his way up to the back of the stand, and he's with Dale.
Yeah, Sean, well done. What a great performance from Hawick this afternoon, especially in the first half. And that was probably the peak Hawick, wasn't it?
Aye, honestly, the first half, 40 minutes, was us at our best. Probably the best we've played this season. We knew it was going to be a challenge with a big emphasis that Currie are a great outfit, so we knew we'd be under pressure. But the way the boys started, I thought Kyle Brunton and Kirkford run the game first half, put us in the right areas. And we know we've got the boys like Andrew Mitchell. I thought he was exceptional, probably the best I've seen him play since he's came back. I think he was involved in just about every try. So we had a big performance with big players, and the first half was outstanding.
Did you expect that? Did you expect that you were able to do that, put on that level of performance?
Honestly, I'll say no. I thought it would have been a lot tougher. But we knew we had gears. We knew we played well at Marr last week, but I say to the boys in the change rooms that we've still got gears to go through, and we knew we've got a big performance. But the way we put Currie to the sword in that first half, I think surprised just about everybody here.
And in terms of, obviously you didn't concede in the first half, you only conceded from a set piece and a driving maul in the second half. It looked like Currie were finding it really hard to breach your defence, and in terms of the stats, you conceded the least points in the league per game. Is that something that you are basing your game on? Is that something that Matty Douglas has really forced you into acknowledging?
Look, we basically our pride in our defence. It's outstanding. I think every team that's came here anywhere really, I think we're averaging conceding 12 points a game, and we didn't read too much into it, but I think the Currie coach says last week they'll come down here and score a few points, so we knew that, and we didn't want to let that happen, so the boys had a point to prove with it.
Aye, yeah, definitely. It's certainly a comment which perhaps hasn't aged too well, but you were talking about players there. You were talking about Kirkford, who I agree with everything that you said. Kirkford, Kyle Brunton managed the game well. Andrew Mitchell, I think, is a cracking player, but it's perhaps the most selfless performance that I've seen him put in. But it's even the bench as well. The depth of this Hawick squad that you've got is something that you've perhaps not really had for the last few years.
Since I've been at Hawick, we've had probably a decent 15, a good 15, 17, 18, but you see the names on that force team sheet today, and the depth here we've built, that the coaches have built, is it's pretty frightening that we can bring boys over the fence who probably will come back into the squads, and I wouldn't like to pick the team for the end of this season, that's for sure.
And thinking about the end of the season, do you now think that it's really realistic and perhaps guaranteed that you've got the home semi-final in the bag?
If I'm honest, we're thinking about Glasgow Hawks next week. We want to go up there and put another performance in, and then we'll take care of Heriots after that in GHA. We've still got 3 games before we get to the end of February, so it's a cliche, we say it every week, but it's one game at a time, and that's what we're concentrating on. The semi-finals, I think we're guaranteed playoffs now.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if the home semi's guaranteed, but one game at a time. It'll be a tough game up at Ballgrey next week. They're a physical outfit, but we'll rock up Tuesday and we'll prepare for that.
Well, good luck, Sean, and well done yet again. It gives me a chance to bring in the Currie captain, Rhys Davis, who perhaps has got another slant on the game in terms of his performance, as the two captains are just shaking hands and seeing it's all pleasant after a few fisticuffs during the game as well. But Rhys, firstly, commiserations. It's obviously it's a disappointing result for you, but it kind of came off the back of a really poor opening first 40 minutes.
Yeah, I would agree. Look, Hawick are always very direct. We know what we're going to get, a physical game, but I actually think, to be fair to them, they played the conditions today. They had a really strong first half, and I think we struggled to get into any phase play because we're just pinned back in our own half and under a heavy pitch as well.
You're not really allowed to play to your strengths. Hawick did come out the traps pretty quickly, but they just never allowed you to really impose your game onto this fixture.
That's right. Look, Currie are a very attacking team. I think we've scored the most tries in the league this year, and we just struggled to get boys around the corner, get into any patterns, into any shape. And I think in the times that we did, 2 or 3 phases, we made line breaks. But I think that Hawick really fronted up today and brought a physical performance over the 80 minutes.
Nikki Walker, who was on co-coms, did say that when you were behind the defensive line you were causing Hawick problems, but keeping it clean as well. What was Mark Cairns saying at half time?
Look, I think he leans on a leadership group. We've got a really strong leadership group in this team. Mark approaches half-time talks very differently to other coaches and gives us little snippets. I don't think that a rocket at half-time was what we needed, and I think collectively we came out. I think we scored first after the break. We tried to play in the right areas, but I think the scoreboard had just pushed on too much for us to catch up.
Yeah, it was a tighter second half.
That's
and
right.
The games of last season were tight as well, and this is perhaps one of those results. But it's a big few weeks coming up now for Currie, and for Hawick, and for the teams that are in the playoff battle. Are you are still confident you've got a home semi-final in the bag?
Absolutely. I think we've got a tricky few matches to go, but we've definitely got the depth. It's good to have a few boys returning. Gregor Hunter's instrumental, and when we get into our attacking phase play, I think he's the best 10 in the league, and I think we've definitely got every chance to get a home semi-final.
Well, commiserations today, and good luck for the rest of the season as well.
You.
But there's certainly some big games coming up in the Tenants Premiership.
Thanks, and I hope your man who went down injured today is all right.
Grand.
Cheers.
Thank you very much, Rhys.
We can actually go down to Kirstofan now. It was 1912. Langham's unbeaten record has gone today. Hugh Brown was there.
Well, Langham's hopes of promotion will have to wait for another week because Kirstofan eked out a very tight win at home this afternoon. And although Langham got a bonus point, it means that they will need to beat their rivals Hawick Lindeen at home at Milntown next Saturday to confirm promotion. Today, the man of the match was the Kirstofan number 10, Adam Pilkington, who scored 2 tries and kicked the conversion as well, plus a fantastic penalty. So at the end of the day, we'll be at Milntown next Saturday for our commentary game against Hawick Lindeen. But today it was all about Kirstofan. They defeated Langham this afternoon. Final score at Union Park: Kirstofan 19, Langham 12.
Hugh Brown at Kirstofan, almost been blown away. It's been a very strong wind today, hasn't it? Just coming up to 4 o'clock, we're going to be crossing over now for second half exclusive commentary at Philip Hawke. That's of course Selkirk against Marr. It's currently 8-6 at half time. We can join Scott Tomlinson and first Robin Purdie.
And we're into the second half here, Stuart. Selkirk on the attack. It remains 8 points to 6. First half try in the first seconds of the game by Josh Welsh. A conversion by Craig Jackson to a penalty to Craig Jackson with a couple of penalties to Colin Sturgeon for Marr. As the referee blows for a penalty, Selkirk had advantage there, so they're going to come back. Selkirk attacking what you'd class as the cricket club end here at Philip Hawke. Man beside me this afternoon knows every blade of grass here. 349 games for the Sooters. Good afternoon, Scott Tomlinson. What have you made of it so far?
Good afternoon, Robin. Yeah, it's been an excellent game, to be fair. We scored a really easy try. We lack of passive defence with Marr early doors, but since then Marr have came onto a game, and Selkirk's defence has been excellent in the first half. Our attacking play has been good as well. The 2 lines of attack with Aaron and Jackson there as well. Is an interesting battle against Scott and Conor Bickerstaff as well. So no, it's good. We're now 5 metres from the cricket end for Selkirk.
Marr players are round. And a penalty's been awarded to Marr, and call that one for us, Scott. You've done a bit of refereeing in your time.
They played that little offside game in the line out there. They didn't compete in the line out there. They stood off them and then chopped it. So it shows you how much pressure they're under at that line out time. But fair play to Selkirk. Yeah, it's a penalty, but Marr will be happy to get out of that 22.
Yeah, and it's going to be Sturgeon to try and relieve the pressure from a Marr perspective. He's 5 metres from his own line, and it's a decent sized crowd here today, Scott, as well.
Yeah, it's been built up all week. I think training on Thursday night had been horrendous just due to the weather, but they managed to get a good hour session in there, Selkirk, and that combination between Aaron McComb and Jackson are starting to really pay fruition for it. They're starting to really work together as a pair and create space out in the wider channels, almost like 2 lines of attack, and it's good rugby to watch, and hence why there's a decent crowd down here today watching it.
Yeah, and there's another penalty coming to Marr. They won the resulting line out from their own throw. There's been an indiscretion there by a Selkirk player, so Marr have been able to march 40 metres up the field with another penalty to come. Remains 13 points to 6 here at Philip Haught. Of course, a massive game, this, in the context of the final playoff positions, and that Marr penalty has not gone to touch, so that's a let-off for Selkirk, albeit they are in their 22 as Anderson runs it out, puts the up and under up, but it's been cleanly taken by a Marr player. That's their wing forward, Blair Jardine, and now it's going through the hands, but it's been knocked on there. Yeah, it's been knocked on, and wee bit of a let-off there, perhaps, Scott.
It's been another fantastic contest today with McClimate and Jardine. Jardine's won about 4 Man of the Match awards this year already. It's the 7 that plays for Marr. He's a real ball carrier, and he connects with backs and forwards, so he's a good rugby player. He made a good half break there now, and it just fell and it just knocked it on in the middle of the park. So it'll be a Selkirk ball, scrum down. Celtic into that strong window.
Yeah, it has picked up, as you say, Scott, and yeah, he's a good player, Blair Jardine. He's been in the offside line, who of course are the written press for Club Rugby in Scotland, our friends at the offside line. Blair Jardine has been in their team of the week no less than 4 times this season, in a season where Marr are the champions, but they've played 14, won 7 and lost 7, so to be in the team of the week 4 times is no mean feat for Jardine.
Yeah, it's a different year this year for Marr, isn't it? You can see Craig Redpath being frustrated down there, but they've certainly got the quality there. They've still got a really strong forward pack, and they've certainly got the 10, 12 and 13 that could play in any top team in Super Rugby.
That's right, and Selkirk have won the scrum, and it's Cottrell. Cottrell's got dancing feet, and he's played well this afternoon. Cottrell, it was his arcing break in the first minute that led to that try for Josh Welsh. That's good defence by Marr in the midfield as the Selkirk forwards come again. McVicker's on for Selkirk, and that's a big hit in the midfield as the Selkirk backs look to truck it up. Marr possibly got the upper hand here this afternoon in terms of bulk, but Selkirk maintaining possession, albeit not doing too much with it as it stands, but there's a little bit of space here. Again, Munro Job is hogging this near side touchline. He was fed by Josh Welsh. Now it's back with Hamilton. Hamilton's got the early substitute, Connor Ward. He's been playing centre for the seconds, but he's playing in the second row today. Possibly a high challenge there on Cottrell as he again hogged this near side, and it's better look to feed the on-rushing McClimate, but it's been spilled by Selkirk. The groans of the crowd will probably tell you that. And now Callum Ingalls, the Marr fullback, takes it up over halfway, and the referee's arm is out, and it is yet another penalty, Scott.
Maybe the referee's just got to keep his hand in his pocket all day. He's not got to bother bringing out those cards. To be fair, there Selkirk had about 10 phases of play. They're hovering around the halfway line and not really getting anywhere. And then that's what the second half's going to be like at times, because of that strong wind. We've just got to have to keep possession. And Marr, to be fair, defensively they were strong in that set.
They were indeed. Marr, Selkirk didn't make too much in terms of yardage, and there's been no mistake made on that occasion with the penalty. The previous one, of course, did not make touch, so it's going to be a Marr line out this time. Scott Cleland, the Marr hooker, on his 8th appearance, 1 try this season. He's went well this afternoon. He's put himself about just inside the Selkirk 22. It's been cleanly taken. Now it's the Marr forwards' chance to try and rumble things up. Selkirk defence holding firm initially, but the Marr maul is starting to pick up pace here, and they're rumbling towards the line. They're up towards the 5 metre line. Now there's a Selkirk player in over the ball, but it's going to come back on the Marr side, so it's the scrum half, Baird. It's been taken back in by the forwards. They steal another metre or so. Now it's Baird. He goes to Fraser Grant, the blind side wing forward. Now it's out to the backs, and it's Bickerstaff having a dart. He's been well enough dealt with, but Marr maintain possession. They're inside the Selkirk 5 metre line here, in the shadow of the Selkirk posts. It's going to take some meaty defence here from Selkirk to keep them out. They formed a decent line, but here come Marr at the foot of the post, and the referee awards the try, and that's been coming, Scott.
Yeah, it certainly has. Good phases of play there, using their strong runners and Bickerstaff and Smeaton, and get their just reward at the end there. Listen, it's been like this the whole game, isn't it? Tit for tat. Marr have almost been passive at times, and other times they've really got high energy, and that's made a huge difference there just now when they've been in that 22. It's going to be a real tough 30 minutes for Selkirk. We've got to hang on. We've got a lot of young players in there, but you're looking at 13-11 now, 13-all possibly.
Yeah, it's 13-11 as it stands, but the kick is bang in front, and a marksman of the calibre of Colin Sturgeon makes no mistake. So we are even Steven here at Philip Hott. 13 points all, a result which you feel would possibly favour Selkirk. Selkirk 6 points ahead of the visitors in the race for 4th spot on that all-important playoff place. You'd feel after the cricket score that was run up by Hawick at Mansfield today that whoever finishes 4th will meet the Tieries in a semi-final at Mansfield Park. What a game that would be if Selkirk were to progress and make it to that match. Of course, a massive border derby, and the prospect of that whets the appetite, but as it stands it's 13 all, and Marr, Scott, you've used the phrase a couple of times, passive, and they have been passive at times, but when they go up through the gears they know what they're doing. Yeah, I'm just hoping that they've not quite figured that one out yet. When they bring that high energy into the game, they're very strong, powerful carriers, aren't they? And Selkirk have contained that really, really well today, and used the ball really well, and found edges on the far side of the field really well. It's very much playing in the right areas of the field has got to be key in this last 25 minutes. Yeah, it is. A Sturgeon kicks forward to chip and chase from Sturgeon, and he's managed to guddle it and gather it at the second attempt. So it's Marr possession just inside the Selkirk half. The number 8 Smeaton, who is on debut today, the Glasgow Warriors Academy player, and he's put himself about this afternoon as Marr go to ground here. Now they're going up that far side touchline, or at least they're attempting to, but that's good defence by Selkirk. But Marr maintain possession, and Sturgeon, he's got Smeaton again. Umpteen carries for Smeaton this afternoon, this 21-year-old. That's been stolen by Selkirk. Great play in there by Bruce Riddle. Bruce Riddle managed to get himself through there, and then it was eventually knocked on by a Marr player. So Riddle's taking this thing out of that. Yeah,
Bruce is a referee as well, so it's interesting in situations like that where at ruck time, where knowing when the ball's out and when it's not out, and Bruce certainly made up his game there, no doubt about that. Yeah, Bruce Riddle, Selkirk's top try scorer this season with 6 league tries. He was in and around the Southern Knights last season, and he scored last week in the big away win at GH8. Yeah, that was an excellent win for Selkirk last week. I know that the losses in Vardrak and the loss James Head early doors last week, they went down to 14 points. So to get a win, to turn that around and get a win back up in Glasgow last week was a fantastic result, and you can see that today. Actually, you can see the confidence within the Selkirk ranks, and the way they're able to manage a game and play with almost the 2 or 3 levels of attack. They're certainly playing with a lot of confidence. It's just about looking after that ball just now, because your Smeatons of the world and your big staff boys are gunning for them. They are, and you mentioned the injuries last week sustained as the scrum takes an eternity to set. Selkirk's injury list just starting to lengthen. You mentioned Svadrak there, he's absent today. James Head, who arguably has been the signing of the season for any club this season, the big second rower, he's out. Andrew McComb, who's been in outstanding form in both the back and second rows, missing today. Ross Nixon, bit of a talisman around these parts, he's not in the side as that scrum goes down, and will be and that shows you the strength and depth that Scott and Darren Hogan have brought to the club in the last kind of 12 months. you know, and he need that strength and depth. You know, obviously seconds had got a good win over the back this afternoon as well against Purdie. So I think it augurs well for the future, but it's so difficult nowadays with players retiring that much earlier than they ever did before.
Yeah, recruitment has been good here at Selkirk. They've brought a few in who have really bought into the cause. Scott White, of course, in his last year as coach here before he departs for the Southern Knights. The hope will be that not too many players follow him. As Selkirk come now up into the Marr half with a grubber kick forward by Callum Anderson, but it's been taken in by the Marr player in and around their own 10-metre line. And it's come back on the Marr side.
I think if they're going to get anywhere today, that's that type of grubber kick they've got to get. The Marr Park was so slow to get back and react and help out. Little kicks, clever kicks like that today may well be the key. It's a great run, isn't it?
It's a really, really good carry by Smeaton, the youngster that we mentioned earlier. He's shrugged off numerous challenges there, and he's made 30 metres up into the Selkirk half as his back row colleague Blair Jardine takes it on. So it's now Marr position. Here it comes to Bickerstaff, but Bickerstaff is hit hard on the 10-metre line as the Marr coaches and substitutes scream for a penalty, which is not forthcoming. And here comes Jardine again. He knows how to win a collision, and he did just that there. So Marr going through the phases here as Baird puts it out to Sturgeon. Sturgeon has a dummy and goes himself, but again remains on his own side of the 10-metre line. But another penalty has been awarded to Marr, and they've taken it quickly, and it's been fed to Jardine. Selkirk players in over the ball, but it's going to come back on the Marr side, and there's another penalty coming here, but it may not matter because that man Smeaton is rumbling forward again, now up towards the 22. Craig Miller, the tight head, he takes it on another couple of metres, but the referee's blown up. He's going to bring them back for a penalty. Now, Scott, this is 25 metres out, just the stand side of the posts.
Yeah, Sturgeon's a very good kicker as well. Yeah, they went for the post.
Yeah, the referee has signalled. I don't think there was ever any doubt in Sturgeon's mind, was there?
Although I don't think so. 13-0 with the wind at their backs. I'm interested. Smeaton's down on the deck there. He was actually quite quiet the first half, but certainly he's came into a game and it's not the second half, hasn't he?
Yeah, he certainly has.
Why he's in the ranks of that Glasgow Warriors team. He's physical. He must be about 6'2", 6'3", big long black hair, physically very strong, powerful runner.
Yeah, he's certainly noticeable with those long flowing locks as he puts himself about on debut. But it's going to be Colin Sturgeon on the occasion of his 160th appearance for Marr with a penalty. Orris hit the post and drifted behind the goal, the dead ball line, Scott, and that is what you'd class as a let-off.
Yeah, it certainly was, because it was inside the 15, wasn't it? And hey, listen, you've got to take these opportunities when they come. So, Selkirk will have to work hard to try and build their way back up that field, because that wind is still birling about. They're playing against that wind in their face.
Yeah, they've not had too much territory in this second half. Selkirk, as they drop out from the 22, the lesser spotted 22 drop out these days, but it's been taken in by Marr and gives them another chance to mount an attack as they come through Bickerstaff, Connor Bickerstaff. Again, another Selkirk player over that, and it's been taken by but illegally so once again, says Kieran Stark. So the penalty's really starting to...
I'm actually really glad he's keeping his hands in his pocket, the referee. There's no doubt about that. There doesn't even seem to be any conversation with the captain either, from both sides, just to say cut out the penalties. There's a really good positive tackle by James Bett in there that caused a wee bit damage, and I actually thought it was going to be a penalty the other direction, but this will go back in about 5-10 metres from the defensive line of Selkirk.
Yeah, and it's been put to the touchline 6 or 7 metres inside the Selkirk 22, a line out on the far side as we view it here at Philip Hall. It remains Selkirk 13, Marr 13. Marr attacking the town end here. this floodlit surface, and as Scott mentioned, just the wind is picked up here in Marr's favour in the second half. It dropped before the game and didn't give Selkirk all that much to work with when they were playing in that direction, but certainly in Marr's favour here as Ethan McVicker replaces fellow scrum half Jack Hamilton. Ethan McVicker, the ex-Melrose man. So defensive line out for Selkirk here, and it's been well thrown in by Marr and taken by Marr. And they, as they've done so often this afternoon, will try to rumble this from the line out, and it's starting to pick up a little bit of pace here. Selkirk will do well to defend this and stop it in its tracks as it comes now to bear the scrum half. Here come Marr with a half break by Sturgeon. Bickerstaff's got Jardine coming around the corner. Still maintained possession by Marr as they inch towards that Selkirk line. Back again to Sturgeon. Sturgeon dummies, but he's caught. Takes it to ground right in front of the posts. Here 10-15 metres from the Selkirk line, so Selkirk doing their best to repel this. And it's Craig Miller, the prop, takes another metre or two. Gordy Reid's in there, the ex-Scotland international. He picks up and has a dart, crawls along for another metre. So Marr knocking on the door here. Will Selkirk hold firm in this key battle for fourth place in the league? Now it's come out the backs, it gone firstly to the far side, then back on the near side with a clever cross kick. It's been gathered in by the Marr winger. He goes over for the try. He's been injured in the process as the challenge came in from a Selkirk player. But yes, Scott, good play by Marr.
Clever rugby with Marr. I don't think there was any malice in young Vickers coming across there. The Marr player just dived and scored an excellent try. Good vision by the standoff.
Yeah, did they? They took it one way, Marr, and then they quickly changed tack, brought it back towards this near side, and the clever cross kick was gleefully gathered in by the Marr player. All he had to do was flop over the line, and he did exactly that. He's been injured in the process.
Yeah, it was clever play. Listen, Colin Sturgeon's a good rugby player. He's been about for a long time. We realised there wasn't any space on the right hand side and gave a good cross-field kick just over the try line as well, and it was well picked up by the Marr player to score. It's certainly game on, isn't it?
It is indeed. It's now Selkirk 13, Marr 18 with a conversion to come. Colin Sturgeon will take the conversion after the wonderful assist for that try. He's 6 metres in from this near touchline, just outside the 22. What you class as the good side for a right-footed kicker, although for a kicker of his quality he's equally comfortable in either side of the paddock. So Sturgeon begins his run up. He's pushed that one, it attempts to draw back in, but no, it remains out with the post. So he's missed a couple of kickable ones in the last 5 minutes, Scott.
Yeah, long may it continue. Long may it continue. But I was listening, it was a clever assist, and Scott Bickerstaff obviously scored the try in the corner there. So Selkirk's got to find that energy for somewhere. If you're looking to be in the top 4, this is a must-win today, just to create that space between everybody else.
Yeah, they've arguably got the tougher of the run-ins the last 3 games. Selkirk, they've got Currie away, Edinburgh Accies away, and then Heriot's here at home. So they will be looking to pick up the win here today. Absolutely, the kick-off's been taken by Selkirk, and Marr have taken in possession. They're now halfway between their own 22 metre line and the 10 metre line, and they've sent it down the park, and it's been taken in by Selkirk, and that's a half break there which takes play back into the Marr half. Selkirk here, McVicker's at the base of that. He finds Bet finds the early substitute Connor Ward, and it's been put forward there by
illegally though.
Yeah, it was spilled forward, but for the first time in a while a penalty has been awarded to Selkirk by Kieran Stark, so that will take the sting out of things a little, because Marr have had most of the possession and territory in the last 10 to 15 minutes. Selkirk, what they're going to weigh up what they're going to do with this penalty, which is centre field, 4 metres outside the Marr.
It's a very good kick, isn't it?
10 metre line, and it's been sent to the touchline. It's going to be a line out to Selkirk on the Marr 22, and even 3 points here would be something for Selkirk, Scott, just to claw their way back into this.
If you remember, those driving lineouts have been going well, though. I think they'll fancy the chances to suck a few defenders in and then release the backs. a little earlier on. I'm really enjoying the Aaron McComb, Craig Jackson era there with Cotterill on the outside and Callum Anderson and Josh Welsh. The handling has been excellent at the backs today. If Selkirk can provide that platform, that's where for me that's where the attack of shape will be.
Yeah, Craig Jackson, of course, the hugely experienced campaigner, and the line-out's just about been won by Selkirk. It's been taken in eventually and they've had to take it to ground in the process. So McVicker now finds Petty. Petty's got another runner on his shoulder, but he's been smashed in the tackle, you have to say there. So it's McVicker again as Bruce Riddle comes round again. He's been hit hard. He's got McClymonds in there for support, so the ball's going to come back on the Selkirk side. Now it's Craig Jackson. Here comes Cotterill. Now it's Anderson. Anderson's got Welsh for support as they truck it up into the Marr 22. Again, McVicker goes down the short side here. Is he going to come in to touch?
He's done well to stay in play.
He's done really well to stay in play there because he got a little isolated, but he's knocked it on. Yeah, he's knocked it on. So the chance.
And that's what that spark. I mean, Scott would have been asking McVickers to come on and create that little spark. There was an opportunity there. It probably would have been the better opportunity would have been to go back out to the backs, but it was certainly well worth it. It was worth a little dart. Yeah,
he found the space. He didn't have much space to work in, but he's a quick player. McVicker goes really well on the Spring 7 circuit, so he has a nose for a gap, and he found half a one there before he was stopped in his tracks. So it's going to be a scrum to...
Yeah, a Marr scrum, and really important now that we put as much pressure on as that Marr team as we can, and make sure they don't get a good out. You know, make sure that ball doesn't get a good clear clearance kick.
Yeah, as Grant Baird, this hugely experienced Marr scrum half, feeds that, and it's been taken at the base there and carried in again.
Yeah,
bashing Selkirk. Bashing Selkirk players off. Archie Smeaton, and he's bought Marr 10 metres there, at least 10 metres, as Grant Baird puts the box kick in, and it's been taken in by Selkirk try scorer Josh Welsh. But again, he's been hit hard, and Selkirk now having to rebuild here from the halfway line, having been up into the 22. So Riddle goes out the back door to Jackson. They go over to that far side, and Cotterill here, who's been the source of much of what has been good from Selkirk this afternoon, and it's been spilled forward out of the resulting contact, but a penalty has been awarded to Selkirk. The advantage was being played, so they're going to come back for a centre field penalty right on halfway, and this will go down the touchline again, Scott.
Yeah, Selkirk's played some really nice rugby. Really, I mean, for the conditions that it is today, you know, really touchline to touchline kind of stuff. Ball out in front with the players every time. I just feel there's no real purpose of going forward. You know, we're missing your James Heads of the world or your Zens of the world that can create that little half break situation and then work off for the fast ball. And somebody's got to need to bring that to the game in the last maybe 15-20 minutes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Head and Svadrak missing today, and you know it impacts on the 20. Scott, you know, they would have been very useful additions today, as would Andrew McComb and Ross Nixon, of course, as the line-out has been taken in by Selkirk, and again they try and rumble it forward. They're 10 metres or so outside the Marr 22 as it crabs infield. McVicker's at the base, so here comes McVicker. He goes straight to Jackson at inside centre. Jackson finds a little gap, comes inside his man and sets it up. So McVicker again, he's got his forwards coming around the corner. There was a Marr player up very quickly there to the point where you wonder if it was legal, but the referee is happy enough, and McClymonds is hit hard as he tries to truck it up. He's put himself about today, McClymonds, as he does every week. His work rate is nothing short of astonishing. The Selkirk again, centre field where they once were, 10 metres outside. And it was almost intercepted there, Jackson's pass, but it's been taken in by Selkirk, and they've managed to make another 5 metres to the point where they're just outside the Marr 22. McVicker's being played there almost by Gordy Reid, but he thought better of it at the end. So here they come again. Selkirk, Josh Welsh, not much by way of support, so he has to take the contact. Marr players in there, Marr looking comfortable enough in defence.
against this particular set by Selkirk. So trying to construct something. What's a lovely long pass by Craig Jackson. Brings the outside backs back into play as Callum Anderson cuts back inside. He finds
some lovely rugby.
Yeah, they have, and he's found Cottrell, and they've just inched into the Marr 22 as the Marr bodies pile into the contact. McVicker has to take that in himself, and he's scragged backwards. So Selkirk having to reset once again. McClymonds, and there's a Marr player keen to get over that, but Selkirk have managed to secure it. McVicker again Selkirk out the back door, and it's a long looping pass to John Welsh, who had to stoop to his knees to take it, but take it he did, and he's managed to maintain possession. So again, Selkirk trying to build here without managing to do too much with it at this stage. Bruce Riddle again comes round the corner. The Marr players are screaming for a penalty for holding on, and their wishes have been granted.
I'd like to have seen that again. There was no clear release from that tackled player. That penalty should have went the other way to Selkirk. Those 50-50 decisions are going to be key, absolutely key. Disappointing. That must have been again another maybe 12 to 13 phases of play from touchline to touchline, and slowly creeping up the field. Not really breaking the line, and I think that's going to be the key area that Marr will be rubbing their hands with in defensively.
Yeah, they looked fairly comfortable as Selkirk threw everything at them there, Scott, and it's almost the kind of set that can sap a wee bit of confidence out the attacking team when they're not making any headway.
Yeah, it's just patience, isn't it? You can see it. There is times where the Marr boys are biting in to look for that big huge hit, and it's those sleight of hands with everything that was working really well in the first half is just what's required now.
Yeah, to me, Scott, it just looks like the squad, the two 20s here today, if you like. It just, it looked on paper that, given the injuries to Selkirk, Marr, looked fairly fully loaded, and that's maybe just starting to show now.
Yeah, I agree with it. I totally agree with that. But I'm being really impressed with the Selkirk team. A good young Selkirk team, probably average age about 24, I would reckon, and they're really putting, they're given a really good game against Marr. So I've been really impressed with them. I wouldn't take anything away from this Selkirk team, and they're still in the fight. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and the Marr penalty's been kicked to touch, as it has been so often this afternoon. The line-out has been won, and yet another penalty has been awarded to Marr on the Selkirk 10 metres line, 7 metres in from the stand. So Sturgeon will look to put this down into the Selkirk 22, and they'll look to build again with the line-out Marr as they potentially look to put this to bed.
Yeah, they're almost suffering the Selkirk Park, aren't they? But you can understand that. The club champions of Scottish Rugby last year, Marr, they're not going to go down with a fight. They're desperate to be within the top 4 as well, aren't they?
Oh yeah, let's be honest here, Scott. If Selkirk won here today, they would have done the double over last season's champions. And if somebody had backed that at the start of the season, you'd have said a fool and his money was easily parted. As the line-out has been taken, it's been won by Marr, and the rolling maul is active once again up into the Selkirk 22 inches forward, and they look like they'll be happy enough to keep this in those tight confines. And they've splintered, a splinter group has formed, and they've broken away, and the Selkirk players are having to retreat and come back and get behind the front foot, and it's now up to 6 or 7 metres shy of the Marr line. As Baird looks to reset it, he looks for his Burley runners, and he finds one in the shape of Archie Smeaton, who's been very prominent, particularly in this second half, the Glasgow youngster. And now it's out to the near side, and Marr players flooding that breakdown. The referee's arm is out once again as a Marr player comes with a free play, comes in hard. The big second rower, it was David Andrew. Marr up towards the line here. Some of the arms go in there, but no, the referee's going to bring them back, and it's going to be a Marr penalty. Of course, it was a free play, they were playing advantage, so they are 15 metres in from the near side touchline, 5 metres from the line, and starting to look a wee bit ominous here, Scott.
Yeah, they're bullying us, aren't they? Your Gordon Reeds of the world, just Smeaton, they're all just having a real good bully boys, aren't they? They're loving this area. They're 5 metres from the line, desperate to cross over again. Yeah,
the Marr of last season have turned up today, 7 wins, 7 losses, and rather than go to the corner, they've taken that one quickly. They've caught everyone out there as they try and rumble forward. As we say, looks ominous for Selkirk here. They'll do well to hold this one up, do well to prevent the try as Smeaton lurks with intent. It comes to Smeaton, he burrows low. Good defence by Selkirk,
Very good
however.
defence, yeah, fair play to them.
So Marr having to reset here. Baird finds his man. That's one of the Bickerstaff brothers, but he's been held up short as well. Josh Welsh is in there, and it's Baird again. So Baird goes to the prop, that being Craig Miller, and again out to one of the Marr forwards, but Selkirk's defence holding firm here, and it's going to have to. That was Blair Jardine with the latest carry. Baird once again the scrum half. Smeaton once again with the heavy carry. Again, however, being held up by the Selkirk player, and Baird's in fishing for it again. More Marr forwards come at that 100 miles an hour, but Selkirk holding them up as it stands. Smeaton now, Smeaton towards the line, and it's been held up.
Tremendous defence, that.
Wonderful,
really
wonderful defence
really,
there.
really.
As brave as it gets, Scott.
What's he given here?
No, it's been held.
I think he's finished the game, you know that?
He has indeed finished the game, Scott.
Strange.
In almost bizarre circumstances. The ball was held up over the line, and he's taken everybody surprised there by surprise. Kieran Stark, the referee, us here in the commentary box, the players by the looks of things, and certainly most of the people that are now departing this stand. But yeah, it was manful defence at the end there. Scott, but
and very important, you know, the final score 18-13, you know, huge points for Selkirk really at the end of the day to keep it ticking over.
Yeah, it's a very valid point. Selkirk will take a losing bonus point from this. Marr will take 4 match points without taking a try bonus, and so it's a 3-point swing, if you like. Selkirk will remain 3 points ahead of Marr. They possibly have the trickier run in, but on the balance of play today, Scott, is that a fair result?
Yeah, I think it is. I think Selkirk played the better rugby on the day, to be fair to them. I think guys like your James Bett of the world, and Aaron McComb, Jackson's, Bruce Riddle had a really good shift, you know, against Gordon Reid as well. McClimate is outstanding week after week, you know, against some really formidable players in the Marr side. So I think Selkirk could take a lot of credit for that today, playing a lot of really good rugby. And I agree, they're missing some of the stronger players, but all credit to some of the younger guys that came in there today and really put up a really good performance.
They did indeed. And what would you say was the difference, Scott?
Yeah, I think we got to that last 20 minutes and you almost felt as if the Marr Park was bullying some of the younger guys. So the constant tackling and the effort that they guys put in almost gave in it towards the end. You know, they really struggled, but at the end of the day, you know, they saved a certain try out there, and that could well be the difference between the two teams when it comes to the top 4.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It could be all important, Scott, as the players clap each other off the pitch. And you look at Selkirk's run now, Scott, that, you know, Currie away, as we said, they've got Aki's away. We don't know if Head will be back, we don't know if Svadrak will be back, and Harriet's here, you know, from the lower reaches of the table on the last day of the season. But 3 points ahead, of course, of Marr, but you know that might not be enough now with the way the fixtures fall.
Yeah, all he can do is go game by game, just like what Hawick are doing at the moment, and it's all important to stay in that top 4. You know, Selkirk will regroup again. They'll see what the injury list is like, and you know, Callum McIntosh, I believe, is been back training with Selkirk, so he's got to be an important front row player for us. James Head, I've no doubt in my mind, he seems very much focused to try and get back in the team again. So himself and Ross Nixon still to come back as well. So you've got some good, strong senior players to be involved in there, and you're going to need that maturity of a player to play in those last couple of games. Yeah, and
James Head, I think it is a head knock that he suffered from, pardon the pun, so he'll go through the protocols, and he'll be hoping to be back as quickly as possible. And yeah, Ross Nixon, James Head, that kind of experience in there, if that had been there today, Scott, could that have made the difference?
I think it probably would have. Yeah, I think you know, losing Donald Nicol within the first 5 minutes didn't help matters either, and therefore that you had to restructure the line out. So I thought Callum Turnbull played well in that respect, and I thought Connor Ward for his first game for Selkirk looked strong and didn't look out of place, which is all important.
Yeah, Connor Ward did well. He was the early replacement for Donald Nicol, who himself is just back in the fold at Selkirk after a year out. He departed the scene early, and yeah, and a word for a man that we're hoping to interview shortly, young Monroe Job, the recipient of the McPhail scholarship, as the rain, thankfully, that had stayed off today now comes down in sort of biblical sheets, I guess. But yeah, Monroe Job, he put himself about today as well.
Yeah, he's played consecutively for the last 14-15 games this year for Selkirk First, and for a young boy to be playing at number 8 at that level and taking the knocks that he takes, there's a wee bit of stability there with him. I think I've learnt a lot over that term there. Certainly coached with Darren Hogan as well. So I think it's a great opportunity, a fantastic opportunity for 3 young guys to go out there and spend 6 months out in South Africa, and he'll come back a better player. Hopefully he'll come back and play for Selkirk, but I would think they'll have eyes on Super 6 rugby after that. But he's certainly played his heart out in the Selkirk jersey. There's no doubt about that, and it all goes well for his future. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and speaking of Super 6 there, Scott, as the Selkirk players emerge from their post-match huddle, we mentioned before that Scott White, the Selkirk head coach, is going to join the coaching staff at the Southern Nights. Are there players? Well, there will be. There absolutely are players in this Selkirk squad that he potentially will have his eye on. Who might you think they might come knocking on?
I think from a Selkirk person looking at it, Scott has brought He's brought a structure to the club which has been excellent. He's brought a few players in as well that have bought into it. Certainly this year have bought right into it. And Scott's had a good term here at Selkirk, and he leaves the club in a good vein of form. I would like to think Darren Hogan's a very good assistant coach. I would like to think they possibly will give Darren the chance, and I think a lot of those Selkirk players will want to play for Darren, which is very important. But it will be interesting. Selkirk's a good club, a good social club as well, so they guys might enjoy us all playing there. There will be 1 or 2 that will want to play on a higher level, and it's all credit to them and good luck to them if they want to do that. Time will tell.
Yeah, and Craig Jackson, of course, who's made a difference since he came through the door here at Selkirk, along with the likes of James Head. Could it be possible, if when Selkirk look for a new head coach, that he could be in the running?
There's actually quite a lot of possibilities, to be fair. You've got Fraser Hartness who's been involved with the younger group at 16s. Fraser's been a senior coach with Jed. You've got Darren Clapperton over the back there with the seconds as well. You've got Neil Darlin, who was a first team coach. So they've got quite a lot of strength and depth within the Selkirk club. For me, I don't think there's any hurry for it. At the moment, they'll probably be looking at that as a board or as a club, as a director of rugby. Martin Murray will be looking at those things. But I think they've done the right thing by taking stock. And I think they'll possibly have a long chat with Darren Hogan and see where his thoughts are and how they want to progress from what has been a really good season this year for Selkirk.
Oh, it absolutely has been a really good season, and they're knocking on the door now for that 4th place, and you'd have got long odds on that at the start of the season, although they did recruit well.
Yeah, it was all about the recruitment. I remember sitting in here, if you think about the defeat they had with Edinburgh Accies at home, and obviously that disappointing defeat against Musselburgh, 2 games that were there, certainly there for the taking, and it certainly would have been a different. It's great for Borders Rugby. Hawick had an excellent result today with them there, and Selkirk are there or thereabouts. So it all goes well for hopefully for the last few games of the season.
Yeah, and speaking of Hawick, of course, they blew, let's call it what it was, they blew Currie away today at Mansfield. Now Selkirk go to Millennium Park to face off against Currie. Currie remain second in the table. Selkirk head there next Saturday. Do you feel that the reversal that they've had at Mansfield today will work in Selkirk's favour, or could it work in Selkirk's favour, or is it the worst thing that could have happened?
Millennium Park's always a really hard place to go to at the best of times, but I think Selkirk probably suffered off the back of Hawick last week as well. So Hawick winning up at Marr last week, I think Marr came back here all guns blazing, and I think Currie will probably do the same again next week. But you know, that's what it's all about. That's what league rugby is all about. Is trying to get your best team on the field and give as best as he can. And listen, Currie will be smart, and no doubt about that. Mark Keynes will have them, and Ali Dunnerson will have them ready to go. But you know, that's what league rugby is all about.
Yeah, they don't get too many reversals of that nature, Currie, and you know, a word for Hawick. You know, you'd fancied them to have won today, Scott, against Currie. You know, fancy Hawick to beat anybody at Mansfield other than Selkirk, of course, that draw at the start of the season, but that was quite some result.
Yeah, I think Matty Douglas has got them going really, really well. Obviously, he recruited well. He recruited his local players, his talisman players, you know, Dalton, Redpath and guys like that there, and they've made a huge difference. You know, to have your club captain playing for the seconds today because of the strength and depth that they've got shows how well Hawick are going at the moment, and real positivity, which is great for Hawick rugby, and they thoroughly deserve it, and great for Borders rugby too. So listen, good luck to them. It's a different format obviously from what it was years ago, so you know, being in the top four, you then need to bounce on again, but they certainly put us all in a very good position, haven't they?
They certainly have, Scott, and thank you for joining us this afternoon, Scott, as Munro Job has come to the back of the stand here at Philip Haw to give us his thoughts on that outcome today. So if I can bring you in, Munro, thanks very much for joining us. So Munro Job, commiserations on the result today. You guys got off to a quick start. In fact, starts don't get much quicker.
I mean, it was good to get that try. Just simple rugby, and that's what we're trying to play. And easy walking in the corner. So it's good to see what we've been practicing on Tuesday, Thursday, coming into the game.
Yeah, and Marr worked their way back into it. You know, you guys had probably most of the first 10 or 15 minutes. Marr worked their way back into it. There seemed to be a few penalties racking up there.
I mean, just discipline, got them into the game. Even at the end there, got down the field through the kicks and then won the line out. So something we need to look at, discipline.
Yeah, and Gordy Reid, of course, the ex-Scotland international, plays for Marr. It looked from up here that he was maybe in the ear of the referee for much of that contest. Did it seem like that on the pitch?
I don't know. I don't listen in and just focus on the game, but I don't know. What the ref says goes, isn't it? So just have to play it.
Yeah, and you went down the tunnel 8-6 to the good. What was said down there at half time?
Same message, just simple rugby. Obviously playing against the wind a bit harder, try not to kick as much, try to play a bit more, which we did, and we got a bit of joy out of that, but then again just mistakes as well.
Yeah, and it was a nip and tuck second half. There wasn't much in it. The injury list here at Philip Hawes just started to lengthen a wee bit. Was that a contributing factor as the match wore on, do you think?
I mean, the injury list creeping up. Couple of big names missing: James Head, Ross Nixon, Andrew McComb. They would all made a difference today. And then Donald Nicol going off early. But I mean, credit to the boys that coming on off the bench. Not much rugby, but putting in a good shift. So good to see.
Yeah, and on a personal level, Munro, obviously it's been a big week for yourself. Congratulations, first of all, from all of us here at Borders Radio and Borders TV. You've been accepted onto the very prestigious McPhail Scholarship. You must be absolutely thrilled.
Oh no, I'm buzzing. Can't wait to go. Week on Monday, so better get packing. But can't wait to go. Really excited.
Yeah, and explain to us what it entails. What actually happens once you're down there?
So just 5 months of rugby really. I think it's 2 months of pre-season, and then 3 months of games. So just train with the boys and gym and see what happens. Enjoy myself.
Yeah, and some big names have been on the scholarship. I mean, you look at that list. It must be very exciting, possibly following in the footsteps of the likes of John Barclay, who've been
John Barclay, Finn Russell, Johnny Gray. So really big names. So that does excite me. Obviously massive boots to fill. So I'll just see what happens.
Yeah, well, we wish you all the very best for that, Munro. Same, we offer the same to the other two lads that are heading down there as well, and thanks very much for joining us up here this afternoon.
Robin Purdie and Scott Tomlinson up there at Philip Hawk. In fact, I'm not quite sure if Robin can still hear us. No, he probably can't. I think we've had a few technical problems during that, which is why we haven't been updating you with the scores, but I think we're back on air now, so I'll run through them for you and some very interesting score lines for today, including in the Premiership. It's ended Edinburgh Accies 32, Glasgow Hawks 7, Hawick 43, Currie 7. That was a big result. Of course, at half-time it was 38 points to nothing. A huge, strong win today, but certainly Hawick defended very well in the second half. Only 7 points each for both teams, but a big result for Hawick. Remain unbeaten at the top of the table, and it's a definite semi-final place, you would think now, and a home one at that. It's a case of who they will be against. Jed Forest 41, GHA 13. That is a full-time result. Jed Forest getting 5 points. They're definitely safe now. Not only that, but looks like they're climbing into the top half of the table as well. Musselburgh 6, Heriot's Blues 13. That was the basement battle at Stony Hill. And Musselburgh very early on were red carded, so they played most of the game with 14 men. So well done to Musselburgh, 13 points to 6. They lost at home, but they do get 1 point. But you do feel that with just 3 games to go in the league, that could be the end for them. The trapdoor looking to be open. We've just heard Selkirk 13, Marr 18, a valuable point for Selkirk, and Marr getting revenge on Selkirk from obviously the win for Selkirk at Fullerton Park earlier in the season. Into National 1 we go, and it's Aberdeen Grammar 17, Melrose 35. Bit of a fright for Melrose. They went 14-0 up, and then back came the men from Rubislaw to make it 17-14, but another gear shifted into for the Black and Yellows, and they ended up with a bonus point win there, 35.17. Bigger 16, Highland 7 is a full-time result as well. The game between Dundee and Stirling County kicked off at 4:15, so they're still playing there. There was a switch, I think, of venue and time for that one, so we'll bring you the result of that on our website at bordersrugby.net. GHK, now this is an interesting one, GHK 31, Gala 17. So the resurgence from Gala, unfortunately, has come to a bit of a sticky end there today. GHK 31, Gala 17. No problems for Kelso though. They remain top of the table. All 5 points going to them. It was Kelso 29, Stewart's Melville 0. And Watsonians, who again were down to 14 men, got within 3 points of Ayr today. So Watsonians 14, Ayr 17. So Watsonians certainly playing some good rugby over the last few weeks. Into National League 2, and it's Boroughmuir 7, Glasgow Academicals 24. That's the table toppers staying top. Cartha Queen's Park 17, Dumfries 18. Just squeezing a point, 4 points there for the men from Dumfries. Falkirk 31, Berwick 15 was a result. The game between Hamilton and Kirkcaldy was postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. Lasswade 13, Newton Stewart 8 was a final score, and that's a big win for Lasswade. Newton Stewart, of course, were in second place before today's events. And Peebles got a victory at the Guides. Peebles 15, Preston Lodge 0. All the points coming in the first half. On to the East League. We're still waiting on North Berwick and Duns, but in East 2 it was Corstorphine 19, Langham 12, Earlston 10, Gala YM 28 in our local derby in East League 3, and another win for Hawick Quins against Lismore, 21 points to 0 in that one. So the closing headlines for you as darkness all around us at Mansfield Park. In the Premiership, there were wins for Edinburgh Accies, for Hawick, for Jed Forest, Heriot's Blues and for Marr. In National 1, victories for Melrose, Biggar, GHK, Kelso and Ayr. Locally, it was a win for Peebles, but a loss for Berwick in National 2. And in East League 2, it was a win for Christophin against Langham, so Langham going for promotion next week, and more about that in a second, but a win for Hawick Quins, of course. Tomorrow, the Women's Caledonian Midlands East 1 League will end as far as Kelso Lady is concerned. They have a little trip up to Lismore. But next week, as I was mentioning, we'll be coming to you from Milntown for the national the East League 2 match between Langham and Hawick Lindeen. Langham looking to get promotion with another home win. That's in 7 days' time, but for now, from me and the team, thanks for listening, and bye for now.